But we've got a draft to look at. Again, technical issues. We're not going to be able to put it up on the screen right now, but we can talk about it. We've got Valdemar and Scarlet Devil coming right up in just a couple minutes. I'm going to let you take it away. Our drafts are going to be here.
So for you guys who are, or I mean all of you, cannot see what we see right now. So I'm going to link the draft for you guys in Twitch chat. So if you are sitting in Twitch chat and you want to look at what we're talking about, you can go click on that and see, hey, this is the maps that have been chosen. So Valdemar and Scarlet Devil, both of these players deciding we're not going to be dealing with water. They instantly banned out Socotra, Kawasan, and Holy Island. And Persian Marsh is coming through, so maybe Valdemar feels like he knows how to work with that at least a little bit. So how do you feel about the fact that we're just getting a lot of land maps outside the top 8?
I feel like, I don't know. I feel pretty ambivalent about it, to be honest. I think water is something that I think all these players can play. Maybe they just don't feel like doing it today. I think sometimes when you look at maps, I mean, it's a little easier to draft around water sometimes. Usually you have a couple picks in mind that you want to use on specific water maps. Without that in the calculus, it gets maybe a little easier just to kind of pick your strongest civs and go from there. I'm not reading too much into that. I think they expect to play water later today, possibly. So,
well, when I think of water maps, I think of something that can snowball pretty quickly. One decision can lose you the game pretty fast. And for these guys, this is everything. A lot of them don't, like, because today here we have Valdemar and Scarlet Devil. And for those of you asking, Demu was not able to play today. So Scarlet Devil, being the next seed, substituted in, and he's going to be the one facing off against Valdemar. So, I mean, Scarlet Devil, reigning all the way from China, it's pretty late for this man, but he is used to these kinds of games. But I'm very surprised for him going for these very standard picks. He went for Dry Arabia and Hill and Dale. And what we've seen in recent weeks with these maps is I'm excited for a little bit of Golden Horde action coming out between these. And from what I see, I said this, and then I see nobody drafted Golden Horde. Because Golden Horde has been looking so crazy on those maps, but neither of these players feeling comfortable with exactly that. So, guys, we do...
Well, none of them were banned. The Golden Horde wasn't banned out of the ban list either for either of these players. So it just really wasn't in their thought process at all, it seems. I guess they just prioritized other stuff.
Yeah, I can definitely see that there's a difference in bans and picks when it comes to, let's say, the top 16 versus the top 8. I feel like a lot of these players have different types of priorities, but we do see something that's quite apparent with all of these. And that's the fact that Byzantines is prioritized, Sengoku, Malians, and the Macedonians. So these ones are getting a lot more action out here. And for those of you who want to look at the Civ draft, I've linked it in the Twitch chat as well. So you can go and click through that to see exactly what we're looking at. One main thing is Japan, Ottomans, banned very, very often.
That was probably my first thing. I think Ottomans has kind of been, at least to me, I feel like Ottomans has been probably the most powerful Civ of late. And right next to Japanese. I feel like those two are kind of neck and neck for just being really, really powerful. I've seen a lot of tournaments where people just kind of immediately ban those two off the bat. Not surprised by that right now. I think Ottomans has a really strong ramp. I think Japanese has a lot of tools in their toolkit that they can use. But what's left over is kind of the usual suspects in my mind. I'm looking at like Scarlet Devils. You got Malians, Byzantines, Ayyubids. You see those sneaking through the draft all the time. Valdemar's side, you got the French, Macedonian, Zushi, Rus. A lot of those normal suspects again that we see these kind of, they're not quite the S+++ tier civs. They're like the A++ civs that sneak right underneath that. And those are usually the ones we see so frequently being played here at these S level tournaments.
And something you mentioned just before we switched into the real stream mode, so secretly on Discord here, Socrates was commenting on the fact that there are so many good civilizations right now that it feels pretty difficult to get a bad draft. But for game 1, we did see that there came 2 picks out of this on each side, as we do. But I'll link that in the chat as well, so you guys can see Valdemar chose Macedonians and Chinese for Dry Arabia, while Scarlet Devil went for the Byzantines and the English. And this is the second time English is being picked in any game that I'm like, woo, is English back?
On Dry Arabia, yeah.
On Dry Arabia!
Seems pretty good, well, especially when Hill and Dale is in the lineup, right? We've got Hill and Dale, so that could be a good pick on that one. Obviously, you got other civs that could be good there too. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is about English that's really, really on top right now. I mean, they've always been a okay civ, and they're so defensive. The longbows are such a good unit. Getting the king out early could be so good. I mean, I don't know the English would ever be bad. It's been a long time since they've been in a bad spot, but yeah, interesting that he picked that here. But as it is, it's going to be Chinese against Byzantines. Valdemar taking Chinese, Scarlet Devil with the Byzantines. So it'll be a little more of a, I don't want to say slower matchup, but both these civs take go a little slower than maybe some super hyper aggressive early game civs.
And the fact that Scarlet Devil let Chinese go through but banned Macedonians tells me that China, being such a strong civilization, he's still more willing to play against this. And Valdemar sniping out the English instead of sniping out Byzantines, it's also something that just from all the games we've watched, it is absolutely bananas. And I can't wait to find out why he's done that, because this is the type of information we're here to get. Trying to understand why these guys are pulling out tricks like that. But now, Byzantines. This civ, it does well. But what he's going to need to do is he's going to need to not die to the Chinese pressure that they get once they do the professional scouts, or most of the time, you don't even need to go pro scouts with China at the moment, because when you're up against Byzantines, if they play just a little bit greedy and aggressive, you're just going to go out and get the deer yourselves. So that's the thing about China. They can adapt to things pretty quickly. Or Byzantines, they like a bit of breathing room. China sometimes gives them that. These two are pretty close match for that.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, they both like a little breathing room. They both can kind of slow it down. English can get a little, I don't really get too aggressive early outside of the king, but they can put a little pressure. I actually like the English and the Chinese matchup as English. I think that's a pretty close matchup, but I kind of like English ever so slightly. I think the stats will probably show it's pretty even overall. I wonder if Valdemar, and again, it's so hard to get into these guys' heads because they ban and counter pick their civs, anticipating what their opponent's going to do. So I'm sitting here wondering, did Valdemar choose Macedonians and Chinese and ban English, hoping that he wouldn't have to play Chinese into English, hoping that maybe Byzantines would be a bit better? It's one of those things where, like, I always want to get into their minds and kind of know. It's such a hard concept to kind of know, like, what are they angling here for? Because there's a lot of mind games that go on into these drafts that it's not always super easy and apparent to us, the viewers, to see. So and it's different for every person too, right? Everyone's going to have their priorities.
And thinking about the rest of the draft as well, we now know what we're going to be seeing that first game, but for the rest of it, you have to keep in mind, we still have King of the Hill, we have Frisian Marshes, Dry Arabia, and Hill and Dale. These maps, I mean, Valdemar chose the weird ones, right? He went for King of the Hill and Frisian Marshes. So it tells me he's ready with some plays, because a lot of the times when players pick these maps, especially if it's their prior picks, they're used to pulling out the stops to make this work. And Scarlet Devil, he's the kind of guy who takes down anyone on a good day. But he's not been very consistent over the last few months. So one moment he's taking down the top of the top, the next moment he's gone for a little while. So I'm actually excited to see if Valdemar can take down someone like Scarlet Devil, considering the fact that he has these maps in front of him. But now with Baldland, we have a map that is quite open. And thinking of the two civs that we have in front of us, China and Byzantines, you're not really considering that, hey, these are your top civs on that map.
I don't know. I think, yeah, maybe not. The question is, like, with China or something like Zushi, I mean, Valdemar has opted for, Valdemar's got both of those. We should remember, he's got Chinese and Zushis, and these civs, while different, are so similar in certain ways, right? They can both do the pro scouts thing. They can both get a lot of tempo and food from that. So I wonder if he thinks of like something like that on Baldland. Go get the deer, grab those in with maybe Zushi. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Zushi pick on that map, or a French pick. He's got French in his back pocket as well. I could see that just as easily being pulled out on Baldland. So Valdemar, I think, has got a lot of good stuff to work with here. Scarlet Devil, likewise, though, has Malians. He's got Ayyubids, Delhi. So, like, again, like I was saying, both of these drafts look really, really good in my mind. I think they both have some really good civs. I think the map pool isn't, again, with no water, there's a little bit easier of a time calculating what you need to do here. It's pretty straightforward. And we can't understate, too, that Valdemar was expecting to play Demu. He was not anticipating playing Scarlet Devil. That was kind of a last second change. Demo had to step out. In comes the alternate with Scarlet Devil. So how much does that change the calculus for Valdemar? Probably not a whole lot. I would say he's definitely the favored matchup here, right? He's probably the higher seeded player. So he expects to win this match. It's expected he would, perform pretty well here. So it's on to Scarlet Devil now to kind of throw a wrench in that and try and see, can he squeak through? Can he make something happen here today against what is in most people's minds going to be the higher rated opponent?
Oh, of course. And the thing is, Valdemar, we haven't seen him take a series from last week either. This is someone who's a prominent coach in the community that has a pretty big YouTube channel as well. And he's so good at explaining these concepts. But every single time in these high pressure environments, you ask yourself, can you execute them at that way that you preach? And I think most players, when everyone has a plan, as a wise man once said, everyone has a plan until there's a knight on your gold. And then everything falls apart. But we'll see if Valdemar can break that curse and get into game one. So, ladies and gentlemen, Valdemar here to take down. Let's see how it goes.
I'm pretty sure it was Mike Tyson who said that too. Everyone's got a plan until a knight raids their villagers. I'm pretty sure that was Mike Tyson.
Yeah. And Mike Tyson, wise man. I mean, prominent French player, right?
Yep, prominent French player. We apologize again for any kind of overlay issues we're having. Again, there's been a lot of technical stuff in the background that our team is trying to figure out, so ignore the 0-4 for the time being. This is game number 1 on Road to Red Bull Wololo with Scarlet Devil facing off against Valdemar. Valdemar here in the yellow as the Chinese in your eastern corner, and in the western side we got Scarlet Devil in the purple playing as Byzantines. You can see the first 2 cisterns already coming up.
And that feels pretty good to have 2 out so quickly. I would like to see if we still have any villagers out there on the stone for him to keep building these up. But with those little dots there, I am assuming he's going to be sistering this up for a while. Yes, there we go. 2 more villagers on there. The Scarlet Devil, he's going to be expanding that system. Of course, with no mill opening on the berries, this is going to mean we're going to get a standard all opening in our feudal age, while Valdemar on the other side already aging up with that Imperial Academy, and it's coming in pretty quickly here, considering we are Byzantines on this side, and we only started our age up right now. Feudal is about to hit for Valdemar, and then he gets to decide what he wants to go for next. And he's still on gold, though.
Yeah, he's on gold because he's going to go for pro scouts, I think. I feel like that's going to be what he's going to go with. I mean, on this map especially, you've got all those deer in the middle of the map, just kind of sitting there waiting. And with Byzantines being a little bit slower, not going for anything too aggressive early, he could get a pack or 2 back home pretty quickly if he wanted to.
Now, getting this amount of control in the early game is going to be important for him to be able to just snatch as much as he needs. And honestly, China has that ability. A lot of people, when they're playing China, they like to do a little bit of raiding or just get a handful of spears to get out on there anyway. But when you're going for the stable already, makes sense. You go for a few scouts, you get a horseman in there, and you're good to go. And we do see that Imperial official already supervising, making sure everybody drops off just right here. Now, the age up is still a far way away here for Scarlet Devil, but we can see that next cistern on the way too. Already going for the straggler tree means we will be seeing a response pretty quickly. And I'm wondering if this is an instance where you also just open with your Limited, pretty standard again, but this is Scarlet Devil. So every time I make a call...
Yeah. I'm looking at the tower there that he's got going on those on his not cistern, on the berries. Scarlet Devil building a tower right next to his landmark. He is going to play very defensive here. I'm thinking this is just a quick, fast castle play, which true. I don't know. That's going to just give Valdemar all the deer. I'd be surprised if we see too many units coming out of Scarlet Devil early.
Yeah, we've been seeing this a little bit with the Chinese players, especially. The fast castle play has been pretty good. The thing is, it's usually good because your opponent cannot capitalize as much before the age hits. But China, they're pretty good at just responding, and with unlimited food, they're gonna be perfectly okay. But we do see he's got quite a few villages there on wood as well. The Scarlet Devil is gonna be chopping and getting a few upgrades there too. Now going for horticulture, which just tells me he wants to capitalize on those berries as fast as he can.
Those scouts clicks in right now. So Valdemar is going to start getting those back homeward bound as fast as he can. He already has the first couple scouts heading out that way. He's got 3 scouts in the field, 1 more in the queue. So he is just pumping those out. He's going to get a lot. Scarlet Devil's not going to have much of an answer to this besides his own scouts to pretend to harass a little bit. So Valdemar is going to be sitting very, very nice as far as food goes for the next couple minutes.
And with all those scouts, it's not going to be a difficult amount to really capitalize on. But you see, he's already opened up with an archery range. He's getting his first 2 archers. So those limited A that Scarlet Devil is now planning on making, they are not going to hit as hard as they want to. So now Scarlet Devil, he is already shutting down 1 scout. And that deer being left out here just means that Valdemar is going to need to keep an eye on it and drag it all the way back manually.
I'm really a little nervous for Scarlet Devil. He's got a couple of horsemen in the queue now, so he does want to contest this, but it'll go nice into these archers. Valdemar has making his own horsemen as well now, but Scarlet Devil's going to have a couple. I'm wondering if it's going to be enough. I'm just thinking Scarlet Devil might be a little slow on the uptake here. These horsemen coming out a little bit late. Now, archers aren't going to do much now for Valdemar. I'm just thinking back to that tower, though, on the berries in the back of his base. That was such a defensive play, and there really isn't that kind of aggression coming from Valdemar just yet. You really could have maybe invested those into the production building a little earlier, pumped out a couple of horsemen maybe just a little earlier. We see he even put some stone into that tower, so it is a very fortified spot, which probably will pay for itself later, but for now, I wonder how much tempo he might have lost on that play.
Now, Scarlet Devil knows the risk of playing against someone going pro scouts. When you're up against anyone going pro scouts, they have access to the stables. The moment they have the scouts out, they're getting what they need. Those horses can follow pretty quickly, especially with all that food income. But yeah, like you said, it was a very early one. Scarlet Devil probably just anticipated a little bit more problems along the way. Now, with his horses, it looks like he's going to try to shut down some of these pro scouts, and he's been doing a pretty good job at that. He's been mostly everywhere, and him building that barracks early on, I believe he cancelled it and just went straight for the stable after that. Pretty smart call here, because of course your opponent is going to expect limited A. Oh, but look at that. Again, another deer just being dropped down, a scout getting a little low, and now a barracks coming out from Valdemar. He sees this horse commitment and realizes, hey, I probably need units that handle horses well.
Yeah, that's a direct response to the horsemen that have been popping out. Right now, 3 cisterns in for Scarlet Devil, so the economy at home's doing pretty all right. He's got some sheep still sitting around. More deer coming in. And this is kind of the smart thing, is you got to start splitting up a little bit. When you have a bunch of horsemen on one pack, you got to start finding the other packs. And thankfully on this map, there's a lot of packs to go find. The tricky thing is your scouts are vulnerable and slow. So Scarlet Devil trying to slow this down as best he can. We do have a couple of horses back and forth. Some cat and mouse being played. That horse needs to just keep them away. Spears now on the field. Coming in for Valdemar, able to start shooing them off.
And just like that.
Yep.
Yeah, you see Valdemar now using those horses as they were intended, but one of the villagers does go down, even with Akratoy being active. This is a good pickup for Valdemar. But of course, you're playing against the Byzantines. The Byzantines, they like this breathing room. They like this tempo. One villager is not going to hit too hard when you're on your 3rd cistern with that boosted economy already. So it doesn't feel like you're that far behind. But at the same time, this is a man with a lot of food. Valdemar now staying in the feudal age pretty confidently here, getting his upgrades now +1 and horticulture coming in. While Scarlet, he has pulled a few more on gold, and this usually tells us this man is finally going for that responsible castle.
Yeah, definitely wants to get up in age. You don't want to get caught out in feudal against Chinese, which is going to get there eventually no matter what. They just get all the tax gold. They're going to get the resources they need very quickly to get into castle age. I would expect around 10, 11 minutes, both these players will be in age 3, if not a little sooner. But as it is right now, Valdemar has a pretty good military presence now. He has got 29 military units on the field to Scarlet Devil's 20. Lots of archers still in production. He's also continuing to add those spears in. So the deer will be secured by him, and that's going to really propel him forward with a lot of food for the next 10, 15 minutes.
Now, with all those towers that he's built, oh my goodness, and another one on the berries, so smart here, making sure that these do not go down. We see the towers getting reinforced as well. And with the amount of longbows he has in the base, he should be able to handle small raids like these. The question is just, is his villagers just going to be idle for the whole duration thereof? We see the horses himself trying to scare off these boys, but you see now with that tower that he's invested on, that Grand Winery is feeling pretty good about itself here. The archers, though, they are going to be committing onto the gold. They are not going to pick off anything, and a few of them will get lost. Valdemar now, it looks like he's stopped making units, and he's going for castle himself here. Oh, I say that, and he queues up 4 more archers, but a lot of gold in the bank. And there's still a lot of food floating around. And then I cursed it yet again. We see more spears, more horses. Valdemar says, I'm committing to this. I realize this man wants to go castle. Let's just double down and try to take him down as well.
Yeah, if that's the case, I wonder if you start pulling off of some villages off the gold, maybe. Just rely on the tax income. If you want to go all in on feudal, last thing you want to do is float, a bunch of resources behind this. As it is, he is pumping out units. 22 archers, starting to reach that critical mass where they can just start one-shotting things. Except for the horsemen, yeah, they're just going to start one-shotting, one-tapping every unit that Scarlet Devil has. And this is a very aggressive posture from Valdemar. Looking in, coming through the stealth forest, those horsemen eyeing the villagers. But the Golden Horn Tower is going up right now. So Scarlet Devil just needs to hold. And this defensive structure that he's built, he's got kind of a network of these things, these towers. He should be able to hold this for the time being. But again, those archers in the back line just picking things off one by one. Right now, focusing the Limitanei.
Oh, these longbows are feeling good, though. They're kiting backwards, and the villagers now stopping the age up, making sure that they can attack anything from that TC. But the archer numbers, they are doing work here. 2 villagers total falling down, and that just doesn't feel like enough damage just yet. Pretty significant chunk of Valdemar's army goes down, but we have to keep in mind, he's thinking about castle himself. This was a commitment. But was this commitment the right one to make? We've seen this with Valdemar before. Sometimes he does overcommit on some of these attacks, but honestly, it is definitely slowing down the Scarlet Devil quite a lot. The horsemen, they do a pretty good job at tanking, at least for a little while. A lot more idle villagers, and finally another one falling. Valdemar, he's keeping Scarlet Devil's castle age just that little bit to a little bit of a later time, so he can go up himself. Imperial Palace now with 11. That's pretty fast.
This is where I start wondering if Valdemar might be overdoing it just a little bit. His numbers are dwindling. The tower on that gold really put in some good work for Scarlet Devil, made that hold very possible and easy to do. Valdemar now continuing to try to keep the pressure on. His numbers aren't as big as they were. That Golden Horn Tower now up. He has bought himself time, like you said. He bought himself quite a bit of time by diving the way he did. I don't think he lost too terribly much. Look at the destroyed value. It's in favor of Scarlet Devil, but the army value still skews towards Valdemar. So a dive that maybe he overextended just a bit, but I think he did get at least some returns on it.
Now, we have to wonder now, is Scarlet Devil going to be able to hold on if the push gets a little heavier? But all those villagers idly on the food tells me that our deer were all invested in ensuring that we can make this attack land. Now Lance is on the queue, but the problem is with all the deer running out, this means that Valdemar is gonna slow down just a little bit. And this is exactly what you don't want to give Byzantines. Breathing room. Now a cataphract already out as well to Londinium, and that feels decent enough to hold. Hold while you wait. Now Valdemar, we see his villagers going to the north there, most likely in search of some food as well, and this is going to mean that he's going to be the one open to raids. And Scarlet is not the kind of guy who's just going to sit in his base and let you go out on the map to eat.
Yeah, it's going to come down to when Valdemar runs out of deer. We see he's still got a couple more coming in. That food, it's always the tricky thing with pro scouts, is it gives you such an influx of food in the beginning. And then when it dries up, you have to have that idea of what to transition into afterwards. That farm transition can be kind of tough for China sometimes. That's where usually the window opens up to counter raid them and shut them down. That's the critical point for this game, is when the food runs out for Valdemar, how does Scarlet Devil push his advantage?
Now, Scarlet Devil has an advantage of being Byzantines already. And this is now something that a lot of people are like, okay, I'm Byzantines. What am I going to do next? Where do I need to go? What is my next move? For him right now, he needs to get relics. And that's exactly what both of these guys are doing. You want to make sure that olive oil income is sustained so you can get that longbow mass up and running. We have 17 right now, so a few of them did get picked off. And this is good. Valdemar doesn't want to reach that point where that massive amount of longbows is just going to be almost impossible to kill. But his lancers, they are the ones out looking for blood. And I feel like I first put Scarlet Devil here because he's not out there on the map raiding with those cataphracts just yet.
And he really should be, I think. I think that would be a really good addition to this game for him. get onto those berries. You know that the deer is going to run out for Valdemar. He's going to move on to those berry packs, which we see kind of in the back. And while we do see some walls popping up, by no means is Valdemar's base closed in yet. So a couple cataphracts could do a really good job of getting in there. We see up on this northern part, we got some berries and a deer trying to wall that in using the woods. It's actually a great play by Valdemar. Get those outside resources, make them yours, take control of the map. And that's going to extend the deer at home a little longer as well. Like, really let's strengthen and lengthen these out to the point where you don't need to worry about that farm transition for a while, or at least delay it at best.
Now, some of you in the chat are still asking about the 0-4. Guys, right now it's 0-0. The 4 is just an illusion. Close your eyes and just look at those horses instead, because right now we're getting it fixed. Don't worry. It's happening, boys. Just give it a little bit of time. But we do have our cataphracts. They have spotted the boys, and the boys are trying to slide right into the back of that base. The walls are coming up, but they don't cover all the angles, and villagers are still building them. So some of those lances will meet some villagers out here all the way. 5 villagers going down our total, and there's a few lances paying the price for it. But definitely not feeling too bad. They're still inside, though, and the longer they're here, the more damage they'll be able to do. Scarlet Devil, it doesn't look like he's moving out on the map at all. Even with 6 cataphracts now, that's a pretty heavy number to handle.
I guess his plan, though, looking at it, is building up the olive groves. He's playing for the late game, and he's betting on the fact that he thinks Byzantine late game with a full economy and farm transition is going to be better than what Chinese can do. So he's not really pushing the attack. He's just kind of booming back here. The tricky thing is the gold. He's about to run out of gold right there, but he's going to be relying on that olive oil heavily. And he's got most of his food set up for the late game. So if he can hold out for a little bit and maybe catch Valdemar in that transition, he could do a lot. But I agree, it does feel kind of bad at this level to not be pushing the attack a little bit, or at least poking and prodding where you can.
Now, Scarlet, keeping that army mass all together, it's pretty tricky because, of course, you don't want to lose anything. Now, 27 longbows. The number's increasing quite significantly. At this point, it feels like there's at least 1 longbow mass per minute coming on out, or every 2 minutes. And that's the great part of Byzantines. This is going to get worse and worse for Valdemar the longer he gives this breathing room. Now, usually China, they go into Song Dynasty, and you get that villager advantage to try and keep up with the Byzantines here. Him picking off 6 here, it's good. But I don't think this is enough, especially considering that his opponent already has that farm transition going. But Scarlet Devil, he's feeling a little bit more confident now and slowly moving out onto the map. He's got a pretty tanky front line, but at the same time, Valdemar has 10 lances. Those things, they will break through most longbows here. Cataphracts are going to need to do some work to make sure that those archers just don't cripple Scarlet Devil's limited aim mass.
Valdemar diving into the base here. Lancers coming on in, looking for the goldvilles, and there's a lot of them right there. A lot of them running for the hills. Lancers keyed in on that. I sure hope there's a way out over there.
It does look like they're speedy building it. They get a little stuck.
Yeah, he dropped 4 villagers in about a blink of an eye right there, and a lot of damage taken. They're moving onto the wood. The Lancers are just going to go right around this wood, but thankfully the cataphracts are there. Will they be enough to take care of this? They'll at least start slowing them down. The villagers should be safe to run back to the gold in a moment. Still, losing 4 in a blink of an eye doesn't feel good.
Valdemar did a pretty good job at keeping Scarlet Devil inactive, and I think this is something to be said. He knows he needs to raid, he needs to keep his opponent busy, distracted. He's taking Scarlet Devil's ability to be the aggressor completely away by just being the one who's always on top. So, good moves here by Valdemar now, trying to use the power of the Chinese army to actually deal with this. But now the question is this big army going to be a problem for him? But he does have all the relics as well, or almost all the relics, so he must feel like a happy man. Cataphracts now, they're getting on top of the archers. Spearmen not really in position here. And the cataphracts, let's see if they're going to charge.
Charge here would be so good. They might not, there we go. Charging in, might be a little later than I would have liked to seen, but doing a lot of damage. And now it's the archers behind this, or Scarlet Devil, that are just raining fire down. The DPS that mass is having, 31 archers just raining fire down, and that is just annihilating the army of Valdemar here. He needs reinforcements, and here they come. Archers trying to get a good surround on this.
With these longbow numbers, that's the problem. With these longbowman numbers, it's so difficult to actually shut them down with anything. And Valdemar, he's now the one who's at risk of losing villages. We do see him pulling back here. The cataphracts now looking straight at those vills, but never mind, Scarlet Devil says, I'm going straight for your army. It's the only thing that can keep you in this game. So Valdemar did his early damage, but it was just not enough with this longbow mass that was just slowly accumulating. As the resources run a little bit barren now on Baldland, villages are getting a bit further from the base, and those safe areas you had just don't exist anymore.
Pretty good engagement from Scarlet Devil. His base just churning out the units he needs right now. Those longbows, I mean, again, 35 longbows. If he loses that mass, it's going to be really, really difficult to replace it. But for as long as that stands, that is a dangerous thing to have. Valdemar looking for an answer of some kind. It's tricky. He's still in Tang Dynasty as well. We mentioned Song, and now losing tons of villagers on the gold. A couple more drop down. That's 3 in an instant. Make it 4, make it 5. Cataphracts just chasing them all the way home. There's 6. And man, that evens up the vill count pretty close right there. Only a 3 vill difference now as far as vills destroyed. That helps a lot. Now, Valdemar does have the relics, but gosh, all that olive oil just churning out these longbows. That is just a massive problem.
And Valdemar now being the one who's running around trying to find a bit of resources, and just losing a village like this is actually pretty massive because they're so expensive to build. Valdemar, he's the one still making lances, hoping for a miracle here. But keep in mind, he's still on outside food sources. There's no transition for him. Right now, he's just trying to find more damage because he realizes, hey, this man may have just equalized that villager count. Now, this is still a pretty scary army. 45 longbows. They don't want to be charged on by lances, but apparently 45 will be enough to survive. The cataphracts trying to stop this charge as much as they can, and Valdemar going for his last hurrah, trying to take down everything in front of him.
More lancers coming in. This is kind of a make or break fight right here. Longbow numbers starting to dwindle, but there's 42 of them still on the field. More reinforcements coming in. I just don't think it's going to be enough for Valdemar. The longbows are going to take it, and game 1 will go to Scarlet Devil, letting the longbows carry him.
Now, longbows have carried many of a player, but the credit goes all out to Scarlet. The man has completely shown us exactly what you need to do with the Byzantines to get responsible castle and survive. He did pay the price with a few vills, but those towers paid off quite a lot. I think he must be happy with this level of performance. You can see here resources gathered. In the end, Valdemar was in the lead here, but sometimes we know the graph can be a little bit buggy. So I don't know if this factors in the olive oil as well.
I mean, it's tricky with the taxes coming in as well. Yeah, it's always tricky with that. But a good game from Scarlet Devil. You know, it was really defensive at first, right? He really wasn't pressing too heavily in. He was just kind of hunkering down. The early towers, which ended up paying, like I said, they might pay off later. They did. Those towers and the gold, I think in particular, as he was aging up, really kind of helping him hold that classic Valdemar dive. And I didn't feel like Valdemar overextended in that dive too much either. Like, he ran the risk of throwing away everything there. He didn't. He kind of pulled back a little bit and kept some stuff in reserve. The tricky thing was Byzantines, once it gets ramping up with those olive groves, especially getting the olive oil and then just flooding the earth with cataphracts, and then with the olive oil, all those longbows. I mean, he had, I think towards the end of that game, like 42 longbows. It's without nest of bees or some kind of mass damage to do to that mass, you just kind of die to that. Like, that's just too much DPS, and that kind of carried Scarlet there in the end.
Yeah, there's a lot of pro players who just believe in the longbows. No matter the composition, longbows. What are you going to... Longbows. There's no question about it. Every single time it's longbows. And this speaks volumes as we have our next draft as well. And I'm going to put this here in the chat. I have no idea what map we're playing next because, of course, the players still need to do all those things. But we do have our draft in front of us. Scarlet Devil choosing English and Lancaster, and Valdemar says, I just saw your longbows. You're not getting English yet again. So just sniping out English again. And this is crazy to me because it's something I think a lot of players have not done. We haven't seen someone prioritize that English ban again and again and again like Valdemar is doing here today. So he knows something that everyone else doesn't. Maybe just longbows.
I think it might be just that longbows are really good, right? Have you ever, I mean, I don't know if you play a lot of English at any one point. I remember like way back in the day when I first started playing this game, I was, you know, when you start out in AoE4, most of us started out with English, right? That was the first Civ a lot of us played. Nothing feels worse than when you get really used to longbows and then you move on to a different civ and they have just archers.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the drop off, right? They don't have as much range. They don't do as much damage. Longbows are a good unit, and when you suddenly stop playing with them, it can feel kind of bad. And yeah, they proved why. I mean, they're so good, especially in that mass. So no surprise here that Valdemar wants nothing to do with the longbows here.
But at the same time, he says, actually, I will take yeoman instead of longbows. Yeah. So House of Lancaster against Sengoku, two civs I think a lot of people are prioritizing picking or banning right now. So Valdemar on Sengoku, we've had a few questions about how many yatai is the right amount of yatai. Now Valdemar is a little bit of the math boy, so he's going to make sure that he figures out exactly what the right sweet spot is. And apparently a lot of the pro players are going for that 2 yatai into feudal, while some still go for the 3. But when you're thinking of House of Lancaster, they're a civ that has a lot of power if they decide to be aggressive early. So you delaying your age up would be quite scary, especially when that first king arrives, or lord arrives.
Well, and it's an interesting matchup because, again, like the Lancasters can go for the lords, right? But Sengoku has an interesting, unique unit that deals a lot of damage. What's the unit called? I forget. But they got the clubs, and they do a lot of damage to heavy units like those lords. So it can be an interesting matchup. It's kind of it can have some interesting interactions there. But as it is, I think Sengoku Daimyo is one of the best civs in the game right now. Not that it's like the best. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like the top, but like as far as civs that you're going to get to actually play in a tournament like this, I think it's one of the best civs. I think it's got a lot of good things going for it. I love that their horsemen have bonus damage to cavalry. I think it's such a fascinating interaction where they can really kind of hold their own against even knights, and as long as they have enough numbers. This should be a fun match because, again, House of Lancaster has been much maligned by many people for how many passive resources it has. Obviously, we've had to change this patch of how they work a little bit. But it should be, there's a lot of interesting interactions here. I'm curious how Scarlet Devil's going to play it. I'm even more curious how Valdemar's going to play it. Because he's made a couple of videos on different builds for Sengoku Daimyo, including one with the Ryokan, I always say it wrong, but the Ryokan, which I think is really interesting. He had one that build that used that landmark instead. I don't expect him to do that here. I think most people would agree that the going for the Shinobi is way better. But he's good with Sengoku. I know that much.
We did see some statistics recently where we saw the usage of Sengoku and their H2 landmarks. And surprisingly enough, the Shinobis have not always been their default pick. Now, this is
the Ryokan's
just
not bad. There's some uses.
That's what I was about to say. The uses here could be immense because if you're thinking about the House of Lancaster, they're a civilization that already has a heal at home, right? So this is something that you want to consider when you're up against them. You dealing with House of Lancaster very often turns into you making a lot of horses, picking off reinforcements, and forcing Lancaster to go back to their base. But if you're just hurting units and you're not healing back up, you're eventually going to be losing out. So I'm honestly excited to see Valdemar trying something new because, of course, Valdemar, he's figured out a lot of things. We just need to see how they get executed here. At the same time, Scarlet, again, Chinese players. Chinese players are some of the most creative, insane players in this game. Every single time you see something wild, you're like, oh, Louis going to execute that. And he does. And CSO. And Scarlet, he's not shy of that. So I am expecting chaos. These two, let's see if Valdemar can handle what Scarlet has on offer, because even his Byzantines game that we just saw, it didn't feel standard. But let's go see. We are ready to roll. And now that I see the map in front of me, I have even more questions here. Sengoku on this, but House of Lancaster, they love a good old rush against Sengoku, especially on Frisian marshes.
Well, here we go. We're going to see what happens. And again, we got early barracks coming out from Scarlet Devil, so going to be aggressive from the get-go. We see him just, he is booking it. Looks like we're on 2 times speed at least as he's darting across the map, heading southeast towards Valdemar's base. Valdemar's going to see that and note that as his scout runs by, so he'll have some kind of answer here, I'm sure. But it's an interesting choice with the spear. Like, I guess, like, what do you target the gold with that? Do you go after the food cart? You're not going to do enough damage. It's going to be the gold. Sure enough, he's going to get there just in time. They get one drop off, and he's on there trying to do some damage. It's just outside of TC range as well.
Now, this one spear that you've got, it's just going to oppress your opponent. They can't be the greedy goose civilization they love to be able to get all the gold they need to get as many yard ties as a woman could ever dream of. But now, with the amount of spears we see here, those villagers actually have a bigger issue. They are going to be a very nice target for anyone who wants to come and raid a little bit later. And you have to keep in mind, you're House of Lancaster, you love to raid. You love to raid. You love to get hobblaws under that TC who take absolutely no damage from TC fire. But Scarlet Devil behind this, he's stopping at 4 spears and going on to gold now. So this means he's going for his age up to follow this. And honestly, I like this for him. I really, really like this because the Lords of Lancaster will just start pouring out if he decides.
Yeah, this is a very aggressive build, and Valdemar has enough gold to get to the next age, but losing out on the mining camp feels a little bit bad. I'm curious how Scarlet Devil wants to follow this up. I'm guessing he's just going to keep the pressure up the entire time. How does Valdemar respond? I mean, the nice thing is the food cart can just kind of go back in the base and still do what it needs to do. If we look at it, it's probably still getting a close to 60, I imagine. Maybe not quite. I think those berries might be in view. If we can just see the northern side of that, see how much he's getting with that. 43. So not quite 60, but enough to be viable here. It is going to be the Coca Township, so we are going to get ninjas. And I was going to say, like, I know Valdemar has made a video about the Ryokan and how to make a build with it, but I would have been surprised to see it here because the ninjas, even after the nerf, are just so good in that they can really swing the tide of a battle. They just really, really can make that pendulum swing in your favor at the perfect time. And it makes it hard, I think, for other players to gauge how they think a fight will go into someone's base. Because normally you're constantly analyzing and thinking, can I take this fight? If I take this fight, can I win this fight? Or should I back up? With Sengoku having the Coca Township and those shinobis that just kind of pop out of nowhere and suddenly slow down your units, increase the damage you take by 40%. That's devastating if it catches you off guard.
Now, you have to keep in mind with the Coca Township, you're already assuming that things are going to get pretty aggressive for you. Because with Abbey of Kings, you have to respect the ability thereof. You have to respect the fact that when these lords arrive, you're going to need everything to slow them down. They're not going to make this an easy time for you whatsoever. Scarlet Devil, though, getting a lot of wood here. And with the stone also coming on in, I'm not expecting a lot of water play from this man. So Abbey of Kings and with the manners, he is going to start that out pretty soon. Coca Township finally finishing here. But the question is he ever going to get the taste of gold again?
He's going to have to eventually. You see the food cart moving out. Second one, that is. Heading out towards the resources. Archery range coming in for Valdemar.
No, the archery range feels fine. You're dealing with the spears, right? But then the kings start arriving. And ladies and gentlemen, that is when things get out of control. However, we do see Scarlet Devil still being on his resources there, not having anything on gold just yet. Oh, never mind. He switched back. He's back on gold. He's going to make more kings. I was about to say, with him going for more stone, this would mean he's going to get his manners up, going to try to get that passive economy. But you want the pressure on your opponent. You want to make sure that Valdemar is not the one who's just going to sit back, let the food carts do the work, and actually try to do some damage to this. Because, of course, you do see a lot of villagers out there on the wood. That wood line is not that protected by the TC. So when your raids do land, they will find some damage, at least somewhere.
First Lord of Lancaster walking around, chasing down that scout. Valdemar knows it's coming. He's got a spear out on his own as well. He's got a couple Yumi Ashigaru on the field of play. He's going to hope to pick off those spears when he sees them again. But again, it's the Lords of Lancaster that are kind of the scary unit here. Valdemar's going to need an answer. Yumi Ashigaru right now are down a damage, right? They get one less damage. They can be upgraded, of course. I would expect him to do that later in the game. Actually, it's really powerful to do so as Sengoku Daimyo. Getting those guys up to par feels really, really good. But we'll see. Right now, a couple more spears still in the queue as a fourth Yumi Ashigaru comes out. And now we see Valdemar moving towards the fish. So he's moving out on the outside resources, hoping to claim some of the map here and get some extra food coming in.
And he's aware. Valdemar knows that, hey, there are two kings, and we know what that means. There's always going to be more. Pulls a little bit of the boar. The boar gets a bite off, though. Takes a chunk of meat with. And the poor king does pay a little bit of a price. He will not be too confident diving under a TC. But this is still every bit of damage that you do is so critical here. You have to understand that for Valdemar, every hit that he gets on that king just means an opportunity for Scarlet to pull back. It means an opportunity for him to easily snipe one of these units. But the Hobolars are now being made. Alongside the kings, these guys are going to do pretty good against these archers. And Valdemar, he needs to find a way to get more units out because he's not producing anything right now. Trying to get that fishing economy up and running might be very costly because no units were produced during this time.
And I'm still thinking about that boar play. I think it's just so fun when you can use the Gaia to your advantage. But yeah, there's a problem coming in for Valdemar, and there's 4 of them, and the Hobbler's not coming in. He's got a big aggressive army coming in his way. His fishing's still not touched just yet, but it's got to feel a little tenuous if you're Valdemar. You're trying to back things away, trying to hold your ground. He needs time is what Valdemar needs. He just needs to buy time.
The problem is asking for time from the House of Lancaster is not something they're willing to give. After all, the Lancaster, this man doesn't have any patience. And what he now has the ability to do with this amount of units, he's going to be able to shut down these docks pretty quickly. And Valdemar doesn't have the units to contest this just yet. Getting more Yumi as well, this feels okay, but not against the army composition you're about to face. And going for yet another dock. And every single dock he makes here is an investment into something else other than units. And sure, you're trying to get the food. You need the food to produce units, but you also need to make sure you have enough units here. The army values, they look even if we see 15 to 14, but the army value tells us that there's 33% more value on Scarlet Devil's side. And that 33% is going to be quite devastating if it lands this soon.
Yeah, thankfully for Valdemar, he's being given a little bit of time. Scarlet Devil's not really pushing the issue. He's just kind of marching around with his Hoblars. Most of his mass is back at home defending his own fishing. I really feel like he maybe could have taken a fight here. But as it is, they're both kind of just sitting back a little bit, letting their economies expand. Playing, if it were, as it were, a little bit nice with each other for the time being. There's a lot of respect going both ways in this matchup so far. Neither player wants to overextend and get caught on the back foot early.
Now, Valdemar is the one who's now just making more archers. And this is something I'm really surprised about seeing. Because, of course, you're playing against all these Hobolars. And archers, they barely tickle them. Now, Scarlet himself went for that +1 ranged attack as well. So, Hobolars now trying to find a little bit of damage here. They do tickle a boat, but he does get out alive. This is a signal for Valdemar, though, that something is about to happen. And this army, it's looking pretty feisty. The boys are pulling forward, and we see the yeoman now firing right at that fishing ship. He should be able to get inside if Valdemar is looking, but the melee units are the ones who are slowly torching that dock too. This is a pretty scary army, Sockerton.
That boat is just braving the storm. Another one comes out, and now they dive in. Valdemar sees it, but yeah, scary mass. Hoblars chasing down the archers. Spears coming in to meet them. The Lord's right behind, though. This is a big mass from Scarlet Devil, but even more so, it's just a more valuable mass. Those Lords are tanky, and there's nothing really here that'll slow them down.
The Hoblars do take...
falling.
The archers are doing work, but at the same time, these Hoblars are frontlining quite a lot into the spears, and you can see how quickly that is to clean up a handful of spears. Scarlet Devil needs to focus these down, but so far Valdemar is doing a decent job with these trades. And the Shinobi being spawned, he tries to slow down the Yeoman. And the Yeoman...
it works.
Oh, he gets one of the kings, but the problem now is Valdemar's army is still not big enough to handle this, but now military ship should make this a bit easier for him to hold.
Archers, the Omiyashigo trying to get onto the archers. The rest of the mass is right there. There's still 3 of those kings, though, at full health. It's just too much, I think, for Valdemar to handle right now. And the Yumi Ashigato numbers are just dropping like flies now. They've got to run back. A lot of them are half health or less. Ships now under siege. A couple of good shots on the archers there, though. Taking a little too much damage just sitting around. And it's still in range. Even in the middle of the pond, it can't run away. And it goes down. The torches just flying the distance to get there. And this is not looking good for Valdemar whatsoever.
The Yumi investment feels a little bit shaky right now as the horses are just running right past them. Now, the yeoman numbers from Scarlet is also steadily increasing. This means he's going to be able to pick off these Yumi, even though they're cheap. There's not a lot more of them right now. But we do see the demo ship coming out, and he snipes it down. He does not want to risk anything with this army.
That's such a waste of resources. That's so unfortunate. It feels like Valdemar is trying to keep up and is just starting to lag behind ever so slightly here as far as keeping up with the speed of this game. He's trying his best. I'm surprised he's doing as well as he is, actually. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be. He's a really good player. He's holding his best. I mean, this is not an easy thing to do. Yumi Ashigaru still trying to pepper those those Lords of Lancaster and getting some good damage in. That was a really scary moment for Valdemar. Took a lot of damage. Look at the destroyed value, though. 2,100 to 1,900. Pretty even across the board. The problem is the army value is just so skewed for Scarlet Devil right now, and his economy has just been untouched behind this.
And Scarlet behind this went for that second manor as well. He hasn't made... Oh, now the next king is coming out. And Sake Brewery has been clicked up for Valdemar here. Now, usually when you go for your Sake Brewery, it feels pretty good if you have your base set up and ready for a raid or two. But that bad boy is not going to be close enough to many defenses, I would say, either. So this might be underutilized if Scarlet Devil is the one who moves out and tries to shut this down. We do see him going for the water, though, instead. And Scarlet, he feels pretty confident about his position here. You see him moving out, getting the food sources on the map. He's thinking about going castle himself with a lot of resources being floated right now. But the Hobbelars are the ones who are now going to be trying to shut down at least something. Going straight for the dock, he torched that poor fishing boat, but the fishing boat will be allowed to live at least for now.
I love this counter raid from Valdemar. This is exactly the kind of thing you have to do. I was saying that Scarlet Devil's economy was untouched. Untouched no longer, a vill kill to his name. He needs to keep doing things like this. Make Scarlet Devil slow down, make him focus on his own base and defending. Hopefully this guy can get out in time. A lot of archers shooting, a couple of horsemen, the Hobbelars trying to get to him. I think he's going to get out okay, but that's a lot of units chasing after him. A little bit of damage done, slowing him down. Valdemar, again, he's trying to buy time, because now that he's in Castle Age, this tech up, once those techs get in, we see the upgrade to the Yumi Ashigaru coming in. We see a lot of things going his way if he can just buy time. However, behind this, Scarlet Devil's dropped the White Tower, so he's going to be matching this timing with his own.
And getting the White Tower up in this position is so important for Scarlet here, because for him, this means securing that gold, which is going to be the big next resource that he needs to be thinking about. And at the same time, his numbers are looking steady. Valdemar now getting his upgrades, +2 ranged attack. He's feeling pretty confident in this composition. And now the Mounted Samurai, they are going to hit pretty hard. White Tower, though, securing that area completely. And you have to ask, where is Valdemar going to find his damage? But he already has his answer right there out on the deer. This could be so costly.
The villagers go down. Military here from Scarlet Devil ready to respond. He can take out a lot of these guards, actually. The Yumi Ashigaru have the upgrade now. They're doing a lot more damage than they used to. A couple of the lords go down immediately. But the Hobbelars coming in from behind. This could be a pretty good pinch.
This is a perfect surround here for him, because this just means the archers are unprotected. As spearmen coming through, they're hoping for the best. Hobbelars pull back, though. Not really ready for that military mass in front of them, but the Shinobis are there too to try and make this fight favorable for Valdemar. Problem is, it doesn't look like it's going to be favorable for Valdemar, as those archers are just biting the dust one by one, and now the Hobbelars being on top of them. No amount of kiting will make this easier. He needs a melee unit to stop this, and a melee unit, he hears the call for help.
Gotta get out of here, though. There's just way too many units for Scarlet Devil. Valdemar able to keep some of those Yumi Ashigaru alive, which is, I think, just massively important. He does have a lot of samurai, mounted samurai in the queue. 4 on the field, 5 in the queue. The Sake Brewery is manned and stationed, ready to go, so getting lots of gold from that. Again, Valdemar just needed some time. He's got a lot of gold. He's got 1,200 gold a minute coming in. That is a lot, and in a couple of minutes he'll be able to produce a lot of mounted samurai, and then the calculus of this game might change. We do see Scarlet Devil trying to respond with his own knights, and got a couple of crossbows out there as well.
Now, after that last fight, it looks like he's starting to respect the fact that he needs +1 ranged armor, finally getting that to come on in. Now, he's spending a lot of his resources here on just making units, but with the gold income, it feels like he's not going to be able to spend all of it. I say that and I just see him queuing up a ton more. Those fishing boats really able to keep up the samurai production here for him, but one of them do get shut down. And now the mounted samurai, they're the ones looking for damage. They do need to be careful because that white tower is making this a much more costly little raid. So one of these mounted samurai already pretty low, but it might idle out a pretty big chunk of the economy if he wants to. It looks like the Hobolars, they're looking for more damage, just trying to slow down Valdemar's production. And with Valdemar playing Sengoku, he of course with his Matsuri, by now it should be around 25-30%. So he's probably pretty happy to just do that farm transition. But he does need a little bit more time for that thing to hit right.
Getting the relics in as well. Valdemar has 2 of them in his base in hand. They'll be stashed away momentarily. So a lot of gold for Valdemar can be coming in. These Hobolars, this is a pretty, I was thinking to myself, this is a pretty good map for Hobolars because there's just so many spots you can try and raid. The tricky thing is you can't really stand and fight. We see the Shinobi getting the jump on them, slowing them down. That should let the Samurai get some hits in.
Now the Samurai are a little bit slower here. Hobolars still fast on the feet. They get away, but that was very, very close. We do see another demo ship here from Valdemar. He knows the dangers.
And there he goes. Has the pinch, gets the surround, and all but maybe one. Let's see if he can get that charge off. However, losing the food truck over there. A lot of knights now for Scarlet Devil. He's got 13 with 16 of his yeomen. Looking pretty decent. He's also got 7 crossbows mixed in there as well. So both these players with pretty good militaries, but look at the army value though. These mounted samurai, they are powerful and they are worth a bunch. Almost 8k in army value.
Oof, they are going to be hard to take down. And with the composition here from Scarlet, he doesn't really have a response to all of these. Ooh, villagers not running the right direction, but none of them paying the price except for maybe one. But these mounted samurais, they are scary and they are feisty, ready to take some more. We do see the fishing boats getting a little bit idle for Scarlet Devil as well. And this is the trouble with this map. You so quickly run out of food. You feel quite confident to sacrifice your units because you have all that income. But this is still so scary. Valdemar is just trying to keep the army as busy as possible, pulling them outwards.
Honestly, I think Scarlet Devil is in a pretty good spot there. There's a reason those mounted samurais are running away. With the crossbows behind that and with enough knights, that was looking like a good engagement for Scarlet. There's a reason Valdemar didn't really want a piece of it. Backs up, wants to regroup. There's just enough all there that it looks a little prickly. So Valdemar is going to go back, remass, replan. He's got 18 of these things, more in the queue, and he's getting raids behind this, which I love to see. Just a couple of mounted samurai can do so much damage. Gonna look for some vills, not finding any there. Looks like Scarlet Devil has vacated the premise.
And this is smart, right? You want to minimize the places that he can raid you. At this point, I say that, and hey, 4 villagers just standing out there about to get raided by mounted samurai. But no. We'll be out of it fast enough. And Scarlet Devil has to ask himself now, how am I going to minimize any of my losses when these mounted samurais hit? Now, I do want to take a second to look at this composition now. He's just reinvesting into the kings. He wants to make sure that he has enough yeomen still, but crossbows also being thrown into the mix to ensure that they can try to pick something off. Honestly, I'm liking this composition of Valdemar a lot more than Scarlet's right now.
Yeah, I do like what Scarlet has going as far as dealing with the samurai. I mean, he's got his own knights, he's got some crossbows, he's got a couple of the yeomen to deal with any other chaff that might be there. But Valdemar's comp is looking really nasty as well. The Yumi Ashigaru in mass, the mounted samurai in mass, and he's adding a couple of spears and whatnot for good measure. When these two armies collide, it's going to be cataclysmic, and I'm kind of excited to see it.
Now, Valdemar is floating 1,000 stone. And that brings a very big question mark to my head. What is this man planning? So now try to get a little bit of a stone upgrade on the towers here and there. Ooh, but mounted samurai, they're ready to rock. And the yeomen are there. We see the shinobis being summoned as well. And those ninjas are going to slow down everything. But what is this connection going to look like?
Knights trying to wrap around. This wood line kind of making it difficult to get in there. The Yumi Ashigaru with a couple of gunners looks like it's like a Shino gunner behind there, helping to take care of the heavy units as well. Looks like it's a back and forth, but I think Valdemar's just got the numbers here.
The composition here from Valdemar is really showing its palace here. We see all those knights falling like flies, and apparently with enough Yumis, you can do a lot of work. Now Scarlet, he realizes this was a very expensive one, and all of a sudden now there's going to be a massive army headed his way. Valdemar really held out pretty well on this, kept Scarlet so busy so that those raids that he could have potentially done just never landed. Now Valdemar is the one going for that winning push, as we do see this army just looking so scary. Army value is telling us exactly what we should be expecting here. Running now, feeling confident enough to run right under that white tower to get the damage done.
Well, if anything could go under that white tower and fight for a moment, it would be those mounted samurai. That was a really, really good fight for Valdemar. And I really think it just showcases how strong mounted samurai are. Because look at those guys. Most of them are about anywhere from 1/3 to 60% of their health, right? Whereas the knights for Scarlet Devil just don't exist anymore. So really, really carrying in that fight. And also with the back line of Yumi Ashigaru, they've been upgraded at this point. So they do normal damage, which is incredible. And we got some fishing boats doing the Macarena back there. And then behind this, Valdemar with a farm transition, he is looking good for the late game. He's got the Matsuri almost filled up, 2 open spots there. He's got the Sake Brewery continuing to give him gold. He's got, like we mentioned, a lot of stone. And now, age 4 coming in with a sword hunt statue.
I've never seen this. Daimo cost decreased by 50%. Okay, great. So we're going to get more Daimos. And the attack speed bonus.
More too. The aura attack speed bonus, and then the spawn levies 100% faster. It's a pretty good looking landmark, but I'm with you. I don't think I've seen it very often. Normally Sengoku ends it in castles, so kind of fun to see Imperial Age coming on the horizon.
The Sword Hunt statue, I think this is probably the first time it's being played here at this high of a level. And I'm so excited to see how this sportage will go, but at the same time, there's not much to say about it. Valdemar has the superior army. He's going to have the age advantage, and he's got the gold in the bank to get those units upgraded. The Scarlet Devil, nowhere near being able to match this. We see the gold income at 80 gold per minute, which you can probably attribute to that relic he's got in the base. And
it's a singular relic.
Well,
not a great spot to be in. Scarlet Devil decapping the sacred site, so at least gets rid of that for the time being. He's got some units in the back trying to raid, but not getting much done, or unless those are villagers by chance. I don't think they are. In the very bottom corner, but he's gonna just throw in the towel. He knows at the age 4 popping in that there's just no way to get back into this game, and that'll tie up the series 1-1.
The moment he hears that age up coming in, he realizes there's no way I'm catching up with this. And honestly, Valdemar taking down House of Lancaster on this map must feel pretty good. Scarlet Devil for a while there, he looked like he was in control, but Valdemar kept his cool. He knew what he was doing, and he responded. I love the fact that his archers actually found a way to deal with all of those Hobbelars. The Hobbelars, they looked scary. He was aggressive, but just not aggressive enough to land the right damage he needed. Valdemar looking strong here, and not going to give this to Scarlet Devil too easily.
Yeah, if you look at like the 13-14 minute mark, I mean, there was a point there where there was quite a good military value. I think those Earl Guards could have done a little more damage, but then we see later on just the massive swing with that fight. I think Valdemar had enough time bought for him that he was able to just swing this game back into his favor. But there was a moment in Feudal Age where Scarlet Devil was pushing in, and it looked right here, it looked kind of dangerous. And I really think maybe if he wanted to, he could have maybe pressed a little bit, played it a little bit safe, backed up a little bit, and that gave Valdemar just enough time to really mass up. And once the mounted samurai get on the field, it gets really difficult. It's a whole new game then, and Valdemar was able to capitalize on it.
Valdemar, he gave us a lot of hope, and I think a lot of fans in the chat right now saying, hey, he's back, the boy's gonna make it. And this is a big one. Scarlet Devil, like we talked about earlier, we know that this man is someone who is quite spicy when he needs to be, and he showed us that exactly in the first game. And now Valdemar needs to keep this up to stay in the game. And just like that, I want to go over and take a look at what exactly the draft is going to look like. Now, I don't know if we have fixed that part of it just yet, but we do have the draft in front of me, so I'll put it in the chat for you guys there in Twitch chat. As we have French versus finally English coming in.
Scarlet Devil's going to get his English one way or another eventually. His alternate choice that got banned was Malians, and then I think it's interesting. Valdemar has chosen. I think he's had Macedonians in there just about every time as a choice. It's been banned every single time so far by Scarlet Devil. Instead, we get the age of ages, age-old battle between French and English. I mean, man, what a classic matchup that is.
And on Dry Arabia at that.
On Dry Arabia.
Guys, we're back in season 1. Welcome to when Springald ship shot across the map and one-shot most of your army. Demo ships exploding on everything. And yes, those were the days. Oh, actually, it was Springalds. We had machine gun Springalds. I remember those days.
I know. I had a mental block in there. I'd block those away. With English, I feel like English and China with those Springalds back in the early days were just, gross. makes me a little nauseous thinking about it.
Socketen, we have to take this moment and look at the draft. Ladies and gentlemen, the draft is back. Are you ready? We get to see exactly what happened here. And like we said a little bit earlier, nobody choosing the Golden Horde here after we've been seeing them showcased on Hill and Dale, they've been feeling very, very strong. But apparently, it's not enough. I have my other civilizations, both of them say, and I'm just so excited to finally see what English is going to do on these maps. Because now, this is the 3rd time Scarlet has been picking English. First 2 times, snipe. So finally, English getting to see some ground. And against French as well. This historically, when I say historically, back when we were all like young little Padawans, English used to beat French quite a lot. But I would say over the last year and a half, French has been the superior one, right?
Well, it's a knight meta right now, right? It's a very aggressive knight meta. It's been the case for however many months now. It would make sense that French would have the edge here, but we can't discount what English could do. I mean, if any civ can withstand the knights early, it'd be English, right? They've just got that defensive notch to them. I want to point out too, it's so funny to me that if you look at the banned civs on each of these, it was Macedonians, and then it's English, and now obviously Valdemar must not want to go against Malians whatsoever because English slips by here now. I love getting into the mindset of these players as they go game to game, how they pick it out. But yeah, on this matchup, Dry Arabia, it's not a map I would normally pick English as being really, really good on. Obviously, French does wonderfully on Dry Arabia. English, it's fine. I don't think it's bad on Dry Arabia by any length, but it maybe wouldn't have been my number 1 pick on this map, just given how open it is. But at the same time, they're so defensive. I don't know how much that matters at this level of play.
So looking at Dry Arabia in general, the map aside, we know that most civilizations pretty balanced on this, but French, they do well on most open maps, but Dry Arabia also just a map that late game French usually flourishes. So one thing about this matchup, we see that Malians and English were both the ones that were chosen against this matchup from Valdemar. And what's interesting to me, was Scarlet Devil hoping for a Malians against French? Is that possibly why he sniped the Macedonians again? Or is this man just saying Macedonians is OP and I'm not going to be handling any of it? Because, of course, Malians and French, it's a little bit more of an interesting interaction than your usual English versus French. So, usually, especially in the current meta, the horsepower reigns supreme. But again, Scarlet Devil, this is a man with crazy plans. So I'm not expecting a standard English play into a let's open and get a barracks. I have 2 spears. This is going to be fine against knights. I really hope he's got something up his sleeve, because that 1 TC play against the French, it just doesn't feel like it's enough once the French gets going. Council Hall. Twitch chat, stop. It's hard
to get into these guys' minds, and I don't want to speak for any of them. But when I see a ban 3 times in a row, I think I gotta imagine it's just Scarlet Devil saying, "I really don't want to deal with Macedonians," and there must be something about that civ. Whether he thinks they're OP or not, I don't know, but he must just clearly not want to play against them. Sometimes, we've got civs that we just don't like playing against, and Macedonians are decent. English, yeah, for some it's English, clearly, but. Yeah, maybe I look at this and I think Valdemar must know he's really good with Macedonians, and Scarlet Devil must know that he does not want any piece of that. So instead we get English-French. We'll dive in just 10 seconds here. I will dive in just right now, a couple seconds early. There you go. Merry Christmas, everybody. We're hopping right on in. It'll be Scarlet Devil in the pink, going against Valdemar in the yellow. Scarlet Devil is English, Valdemar as the French.
And this is the nice thing. With those vills, he's going straight forward. That's the beautiful thing if your deer spawn forward. Usually on your scout path, you feel like, hey, this is something I get for free. I might as well move out and make this work. So Valdemar getting access to a lot more food early on. And this is exactly what you need when you're up against the English. Now, I do see a very opportunistic mining camp here from Scarlet Devil. Is this... He's going for a second TC. Oh my goodness. Why else would you be thinking about placing your mining camp like that? Ladies and gentlemen, shenanigans are on the way.
I mean, I'm a man of culture. I see a value mine, I place the value mine. Even if I would never plan on going on the stone, you better bet I'm putting that mining camp right there in between them. It's just too satisfying not to.
Now, getting survival techniques early on just means that Valdemar is possibly not going to be able to get that early wheelbarrow, which makes sense. You're out in the deer. You want to get survival techniques, as much food as possible, just to capitalize on everything in front of him. But now we have to ask ourselves, is Scarlet Devil going to be able to actually punish this? Because I feel like, no, definitely not. This is something that he's going to capitalize on pretty quickly. Even if he pulls back from here, if he's got wheelbarrow in, he's not even going to feel it. He's going to be like, aha, sheep lasted long. And the first villager on the stone already. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 2 TC English against the French. And I'm so excited for it. I love this playstyle.
How good does that? I'm just going to keep raving about the value mine camp just because it's just so satisfying to see. Saving 50, I mean, it's only 50 wood, right? You're saving 50 wood and a little bit of idle time building it, essentially. But man, does it just scratches like something very satisfying, right? It just feels right. It feels good. Now, as both these players just kind of doing their Dark Age things.
To you, this might just be 50 wood. But you have to think about this from a second TC perspective. And I think most of your Twitch chat are like, whoa, value camp. But guys, that is the access you have now to being able to build that house very, very smoothly and not getting pop capped for a second. This is the access to just not needing to move out for too long onto the extra stragglers. This is you getting that TC up 2 or 3 seconds faster before that night arrives. And that is why this value camp is so important, because every bit of resource here matters, especially with the wood in the early game.
You know, nothing would be funnier in my mind if that was the difference in this game. If that was the crucial point, if that ends up being the inflection point that wins this game for Scarlet Devil, I would find that incredibly amusing. Just incredible if that happened. I don't know that that'll be the difference, but in this game, sometimes the margins can be kind of thin, so we'll see. School of Cavalry coming up in the meantime, though, for Valdemar. Abbey of Kings, of course, for Scarlet Devil. No surprises for anything there.
Now, what I'm a big question mark on is the fact that Valdemar does not have enough villagers there on food to be able to sustain a night for the first moment that School of Cavalry is done. He's got 5 villagers on food, which is just not going to be enough for him. Rally's another one on there, but the knight is not going to be the one popping out instantly. But he's got a lot of gold in his inventory. He's going still on wood. He's prioritizing the wood and the gold, which is telling me, are we just seeing, would we? No, he gets wheelbarrow. Okay, with him getting wheelbarrow, I'm not expecting a fast pro scouts, but I figured, no, why would he? Oh my goodness, Socotin, I'm trying to figure this man out, but he's too smart. Valdemar is just doing things that I don't know how to predict anymore. But at the same time, when you usually see something like this, you understand, like, hey, this could be a pro scouts, but now the knight, just enough. He calculated that to the last bit of food and got his knight queued up instantly. Absolutely perfection here by Valdemar. The fact that he had, I believe it was 0 food at that point just to produce the knight. Wonderful. I am so impressed with this.
That's the power of being on those deer with survival techniques, right? It's by having that in place enables him to do it this way. We do see a tower coming up right on those deer as well. It's very clean stuff. And at this level of play, if you want to win these games, making clean plays like that is a great way. If you start stacking those plays on top of each other, you start really, really winning games with confidence and with a margin of ease, honestly. We do see the second town center now, however, coming up for Scarlet Devil right next to the first one.
And I would actually like to request Twitch chat, YouTube, guys, just look away when you look at that second TC placement. I know this might be triggering for some of you. This is not going to be the most beautiful base, but it's going to be a very safe base. So him getting that second TC under the influence of the first one just means that knights who dare come and raid, they are not going to get their value unless Scarlet Devil makes a critical mistake. Now, 2 knights already out, and we do see him getting his specialized pick upgrade as well. This man is just getting every upgrade possible and making sure that moreknights.com is in session. Now, you have to keep in mind here, Scarlet Devil now, he's playing English. Usually the response here, what you want to do, you want to get a little bit of gold out, get your upgrades so that the knights don't clap you, but at the same time, you get to wait before you do that. That second TC is so safe. You're going to drop down the barracks, you're going to be able to respond to most of these knight raids as long as you stay safe under that second TC. The Scarlet, he's going to need to produce, and he's going to need to start producing quickly because the knight numbers are going to get scary and they're going to love diving if you don't have any protection.
Valdemar hasn't gone for pro scouts. I don't know if I don't know that he will. We do see that tower about to play some dividends here if he can see it in time. Gets the villager in safely, loses a bit of health off the charge, but keeps him safe otherwise. And with that tower out there, you've kind of invested into things. You haven't slowed yourself down going into pro scouts. You're still getting the deer. You see another stable being built right now. He has the option open to later grabbing it for maybe some of those further deer if he wants. But at the time being, I like that he hasn't gone for it. I like that he's getting a little more aggressive instead. Has 4 knights in the field and is planning something. Doesn't have anything else in the queue. So we'll see how he goes from here. But so far, no Vil kills or anything. He's mostly just defending what Scarlet Devil's doing.
With him moving out into the second deer pack as well, he feels a little bit more confident. He's got 4 knights out there already doing the work he needs and just completely keeping Scarlet on his toes here. You can see with those spearmen now coming out, he's going to try to defend his base, but at the same time, Valdemar is the one in charge. He's just getting every bit of resource he can on this map. The ball being right there next to the deer feels amazing as well, because in that you already have your second layer of protection, aka the vision here with that tower out there. So even if he doesn't invest in a tower, he'll know when something's coming from the other side. But spearman numbers are now steadily increasing, getting a bit scarier for a knight dive in there.
Yeah, and he is making more knights as well, adding 3 more. Pro Scout's definitely not the plan here as he's going out on the field for it, which I do like. It's kind of a classic play. That knight, however, getting braced, though, by the spears, he does get away, but loses a lot of health in the mix. And I love this little short wall from Scarlet Devil. You don't always need to close it all the way in, but just getting a short wall, small investment for a lot of gain, really buys you time when those knights come to call.
Now, because of the knight numbers, you have to respect the fact that you're not going to be able to get the resources you want if you wanted to get an upgrade or 2, but it feels like Scarlet, he hasn't been punished as much as you would have expected from those knights because it's been so safe. So I do see some pink dots out there on the gold already. I'm wondering if he feels confident enough to do so, but look at that, the king is, oof, and he is, ladies and gentlemen, this man is going to go for gold. He's trying to make it safe. Spearman now right there to back up the king. Valdemar does not flinch. Oh, but the scout goes down and the spears are ready to fight the knights, although the knight numbers are pretty scary here. One of them does not become a kebab. Impressive.
That was on both sides. I thought the king was going to go down. I thought at least one knight was going to go down. Instead, both players decided to pull back at the last second. Both of them kind of blinking at the same time, as it were. That was a risky dive there for Valdemar going into the spears like that. There's just enough. You don't really want to lose. I mean, you might gain some value killing the spears, but you don't really want to lose the knights. I mean, those are just so much more valuable here. But it looks like Scarlet Devil is going to make a play for Castle Age. He has got a lot on gold. He is going to mine it all. And I think this is probably the right play. And we see both players really heavy on gold. Valdemar, too, we see right there. Tons of villagers on gold. I think we're going to see some Castle Age from Valdemar very soon. I think Scarlet Devil is going to probably want to try and match that.
And getting to Castle Age for English feels a lot nicer than it does for French, usually, right? Because with English, now you've got choices, which is a great part. But he's still making spears, so you're already countering your opponent's army, what he's invested in fully. So Valdemar going for the guild hall, very understandable. You don't have a huge amount of knights that are going to be able to do game-ending damage once it does land. The king does spot this. He knows what's going on. He does get a little bit low, but the knights on the other side, Scarlet Devil...
No.
Oh, he's getting
the surround.
by value. Disgusting.
Hey, Valdemar's honestly lucky it wasn't more. One knight is actually getting away kind of easy. That could have been devastating. And to your point, I agree. The guild hall is the right choice here. Usually, and this is not a hard and fast rule, but I don't like going for Royal Institute unless I have at minimum, and even then, at minimum 12 knights or more. You really need to have a big knight presence. And then when you build that landmark, it's kind of an all or nothing, right? You're banking on winning that pretty quickly into castle. A guild hall gives you a late game kind of alternative, a way to get into the next stage. But as it is right now, Valdemar running away with his knights. It's a pretty nasty spear mast. That's just enough to keep those knights at bay.
Now, with the amount of spearmen your opponent has, if you went for the Royal Institute, it just feels like you're already playing into what they're ready to counter. Scarlet, he doesn't need to invest in anything else. He's got more walls.com running, and he has barracks. All you need. Now, Scarlet is the one who's going to be clicking up next. And honestly, I would love if he was even greedier. He doesn't need to be, but oh my goodness, the English in me is just begging for him to go for yet another TC. But we do see the villagers getting into position, and them moving forward is telling me this is going to be a bit of a space race. He wants to make sure that he gets and secures another area of the map with those, and the white tower goes down on the gold. Makes a lot of sense. You want to play it safe. You want to get that second resource nice and smooth. And with your villager lead already, you're loving this. Another knight paying the price, but... Oh no, actually it was just the scout.
It's just a scout. Yeah, that was actually okay.
Another one.
I like this placement. And in a perfect world, you'd love to get the farms under it as well. But I think the gold is the important aspect here. He needs to make sure he's securing the ongoing gold. So I do like where that's at. And the nice thing is, because Valdemar has no archers, he really can't do much about this. As long as those spears wrap around, which they do. Thankfully, Scarlet Devil is paying attention to this. It's going to go up without a hitch.
Now, what I loved about this is the fact that Valdemar keeps remaking scouts. I feel like most people here, when they lose the scout, they're like, it is what it is. But the pro players tell us exactly what needs to be done, and it's you need vision. Now, Valdemar... The previous game, and the game before that, he had 4 relics every single time. We know how important this is for him. So getting that out is going to be so important to just making sure that he gets that extra bit of gold he needs to sustain. Because French is such a gold-hungry civilization. With your red palace and, ooh, you can see the gold vein now being tapped out. He's going to need to move a little bit further out on the map. Luckily backwards for him. With a nice Marine Lord gold spawn there, easily walled off with a tiny little wall.
Spears moving forward, trying to shoo the villagers off the deer. A bit aggressive here with these spears. I like them though. Sitting at home doing nothing doesn't feel great. Getting some value by sending him out onto the map. As long as he's got enough at home to defend, which with White Tower up, he should be fine.
Now the Spearman upgrade coming in is going to mean these knights are not going to just be able to charge into them like they have. They're going to need to be respectful. I say that, and Valdemar's like, actually, let me show you. They do pretty well still. Getting us around, he attacks. This is it could be so expensive. Valdemar does lose a few knights here, but not that many. Not as many as expected. And at the same time, he learns to respect this. Pulls the knights back and not going to be fighting into those spears anymore. Scarlet Devil, though, it's giving him a bit of confidence. He's got the food transition, while French definitely doesn't. 400 food per minute. English is exactly where they want to be.
Yeah, looking at the map right now in the game, things are pretty even. I mean, destroyed value, almost neck and neck. Vills killed are neck and neck. A couple of spears getting caught out, though. That's going to be a nice pickup here for Valdemar. He needs to get rid of these as much as he can. Every spear down is a knight saved.
Especially because those knights can heal themselves.
Yes, exactly. So getting those little stragglers is actually excellent value. Relics now coming in. Each of them have one in hand.
And the transition into archers is slowly starting to show its head as Valdemar is respecting the spearman numbers. But with Scarlet having a handful of lancers, or not lancers, knights. We're back to season 1, sorry. We have knights. This feels pretty tough for Valdemar. Few men-at-arms also getting into the mix, and an MAA coming out of English. We all have dealt with that, and the answer is definitely not a bunch of archers. So with the knights, you have a pretty good response already. Ooh, beautiful raid here. All of a sudden, it feels like Scarlet is the one playing English as the first villager goes down here for Valdemar on the gold, and already thinking that this could be a safe gold. Scarlet is showing him, no gold is safe. You're going to need to be on your toes. I can raid as well.
The fun thing about this is you can see on the minimap all of those yellow dots heading back to deal with this singular knight. So that's when you do that, like, you're probably going to throw away the knight. It's probably not going to get out alive. You might get more value here though. But by doing this, you're slowing your opponent down. You're making him go all the way in the back, which is always a good value.
Now, this huge amount of army is not going to slow down. That's the problem with the 2TC build. Valdemar hasn't been able to do significant damage. Yes, sure, you can say he killed 2 villagers. What now? What's going to be the follow-up here? He doesn't have food, and Scarlet is just going to keep on making everything. He's got every bit of his economy secured, and Valdemar now needs to find a way to actually be the French that most people fear when you're playing as the English. The walls has kept Scarlet Devil perfectly safe, and now he's the one pushing out forward with Guildhall only holding 900 resources. This is not going to be the life-changing amount that he needs, but the archers are in position to try and focus on a few of these spears. It's just so many.
This is kind of an interesting spot, kind of a little bit tenuous for the French because you can't afford to give away those knights. You're waiting for the Guildhall to cook as they take the brace and the dive. Getting a bit of a charge off on a couple of those spears. A lot of them are pretty low health. There's not quite as many of them, and then archers there with some crossbows behind, able to take care of this mass for the time being. Scarlet Devil will have to remass and regroup. A good engagement here from Valdemar. Didn't lose a single knight. But behind this, that one knight from Scarlet Devil still putting in some work. He is working overtime. That is a couple of kills now. It could have been 4, but it'll be 3. Excellent job, and then bringing those knights back home from Valdemar. Some good, but gotta give it to Valdemar here. He's playing some good back and forth, and Scarlet Devil as well. They're both playing at a really good level right now.
The problem is, what that one single knight just did is he pulled the whole knight army backwards to go and deal with him. And that enabled Scarlet Devil to just, again, push out a little bit further. This game, though, Scarlet Devil says, you're not getting 4 relics. I'll take 3 of those already. And that feels pretty strong here for Scarlet, because you are, again, you're English. You usually don't have gold struggles in the late game. But French, they definitely do if they don't get that optimal Red Palace placement. And with the map control from Scarlet Devil, that's exactly what we can be expecting to see here. Crossbows now coming out. Scarlet realizes, okay, I need to find a way to handle these knights. Men-at-arms are going to be great, spearmen are going to be great, but I do need to just do the right amount of damage when they get that perfect charge off. But Scarlet Devil does need to pull back. Now almost 2,000 food per minute, and he says, I need more.
Can you smell it? Do you smell that? Smell of Imperial Age on the horizon. I can smell it coming. It feels like it's going to happen. This game, it's only been 18 minutes, but if any game could go a long time, it could be this one. Both of these players looking like they're very well established now. Could probably play for a late game. We'll see how it goes, though. These knights looking for an avenue in. Not going to really find an easy road. It's 2 to 3 Vil kills, so I imagine that number might tick up a lot if this game goes very long.
Now, even though he's got 1,000 gold here in the bank, Valdemar, he's still taking a little bit of trades, but he does need to be careful. That is the issue. The moment he ages up, the moment he pulls out any resources from that guild hall, if he places that down in the wrong position, he's absolutely cooked. And Scarlet Devil has vision everywhere. We see the villagers moving out here to the south, and the scout knows. Scarlet is fully aware of this happening. Valdemar has to pull back. If he doesn't, he's in a lot of danger. The problem is, he is making the Red Palace in a spot where you're going to be quite susceptible to raiding here if that army decides to rotate upwards. Scarlet knows that there will be some shenanigans at some point, but Valdemar uses this moment. He gets us around on the spears, and that is a pretty good cleanup already. Scarlet, though, he's got other plans in mind. Realizes sacrificing a few of these spears is going to be difficult, but he does need to find damage now elsewhere. He's still got a 40 villager lead, though.
Yeah, pretty good villager lead. We haven't talked about that much since that second town center went up, but Scarlet Devil's economy looking really, really good. That's why he's got so many spears. That's why he's got so much. Only 8 on that Red Palace, so it's going to be another minute or 2 before it comes up. But Men-at-Arms now doing some serious work here underneath the base. there's just enough, there's no real crossbows to answer this. I mean, the men-at-arms spam could really win it right now for Scarlet if he could just push in all together. The knights just weren't in position to take that fight.
Now, getting the bit of idle time was quite important here for Scarlet, because he now knows exactly, hey, this man is trying to get a few farms up and running. Red Palace coming up is going to mean those TC shots are going to fire a lot harder, so he does need to pull back and not allow this. But we do see some pink dots there on the Red Palace, and I would love to see if we can see Scarlet Devil. Oh no, never mind. It's just a mining camp being built, and Scarlet Devil is about to be in for a little bit of a surprise. Only a handful of villagers, but all of these could go down if Scarlet doesn't notice in a second, because that Red Palace, it fires so fast, and that's exactly what happens. The villagers all falling like flies, but he's got a lot more where that came from.
That thing really is just a machine gun, isn't it? It's just insane how fast it fires. You know, and that is a kind of a, it might feel like a strange placement looking at it, and it doesn't cover a lot, but what it does cover is that 8k gold. Valdemar definitely thinking he wants to maintain that gold supply for a long time. He wants every ounce of that. And now he's in Imperial Age, and Scarlet Devil is just moments behind. Just needs a little bit of gold, and he can probably get there himself. Gonna take another kind of not great fight here. Just not enough spears, not getting enough value for the damage here. Valdemar's been doing a really good job of just picking off these little fights, having small skirmishes, trying to keep the numbers in check.
It's quite surprising to see Scarlet. He keeps taking these fights, even though he's thinking about going and aging up himself, and Berkshire Palace will be the answer for him. He's putting the Berkshire in a pretty peculiar spot here. As we can see it being close to the Red Palace, he's most likely going to try to shut that Red Palace down instead of just securing resources himself. Now, this fight did go the way of Scarlet Devil, as we do still have to get those upgrades in for Mr. Valdemar. Valdemar is trying to pick off as much as he can along the way. So 35 villager difference still means a lot here. Even though Valdemar looked like he recovered here for a second, it does bode pretty heavy for him if Scarlet Devil is the one who is going to be trying to get rid of that Red Palace on the gold. Now, that Red Palace doesn't just cover the big gold, it also covers the two back golds right there. So it means that he has access to so much more if Scarlet is not able to punish this. But he hits that age up, and let's see that first upgrade. Ooh, enclosures. Makes sense.
He needs gold. Yeah, he doesn't have access to as much gold, I think, which makes sense again. I mean, that's such a good long-term investment. We're going to have the Tale of Two Towers, though, essentially going on up there. We got the Red Tower and the Berkshire. I almost wondered if the Berkshire was in range to shoot at it. I don't know that it was quite close enough. Yeah, I think just out of range. Just about a tile. It'd have been funny if they'd have been able to get in range for that.
Now, Trebuchet firstly queued up, and that is what I love to see from Scarlet here. He knows where to hit, where it's going to hurt, and Valdemar, he's going to have the villagers out there to try and repair this. And that's great, but the thing is, you know you're ahead in villagers. You want your opponent to just idle out a little bit more. Crossbows, though, he needs to be careful. Valdemar has to pull back here. Those are so expensive. And you can see the food income per minute, it's a very different story for Valdemar than it is for Scarlet. Scarlet now at 200 supply. He's starting to build up quite a bit of bank here as well. So he won't mind losing a handful of units and just replacing them. While Valdemar on this side, he's on 124, and he's barely getting enough resources together to scrape a handful of knights full. But we can see the connection has landed, and the crossbows are sinking their bolts right into these knights very quickly, getting Valdemar's army even thinner than it used to be.
We've seen Valdemar cash out his guild hall already, and that's kind of his ace up the sleeve, right? It was used for the age 4, now it's ticking up. It's kind of his stay in the game button. Because as it is, Scarlet Devil's English economy is just going to be humming for pretty much infinity. Like, it's never going to stop at this point. And at this point, I feel like I give the edge just to English late game here. Like, it's very difficult to deal with these men-at-arms and the crossbows with the spears. I just think the composition is better for Scarlet Devil. It's a slower comp, to be sure, but it's a slow and steady comp. It's going to just kind of march in. We're seeing it right here. There's just no recourse, no answer that Valdemar can find. He's down 79, almost 80 military units to 37. The army value now is skewed very much in favor of Scarlet Devil. This looks like it might be it. I think Valdemar just kind of ran out of steam here.
Now, Scarlet is doing his best at just doing damage without losing these units, but he has to keep in mind now, there's a big chunk of villagers under that Red Palace, and that Red Palace should be peppered up quite a bit already. 2,000 food in the bank.
Double trebuchets popping right out of the Berkshire. This is, it's just tough. Like if Valdemar could kill like a ton of villagers, maybe there's a way into it. I'm just starting to see that avenue of how you get into this game shrink by the minute. The later this game goes, the more in favor I feel like it goes for Scarlet Devil with the English.
Now, those big groups of raids does feel pretty scary, but you can just see the keep is doing its work, and the villager there, Scarlet Devil, doing his best at shutting down anything and everything that will try and pick off his vills. But you have to ask yourself now, is this lead going to be the lead he needs to actually secure Valdemar in his base? Because it doesn't feel like Scarlet is circling around the Red Palace just for fun. He's going to get ready for this, as we see him being quite far forward here, but he's got the counter side here, making sure that he takes down a bunch of villagers just to get even further ahead. Doesn't feel like Scarlet Devil is making any more builds though.
I don't know if he needs any more. He's got 113. You're kind of set. I mean, you can make a couple more if you need, but I think at this point, to having more military, since they're slower, it almost makes sense. I mean, he's got, look at his bank. He's got 4K food, got over 1,000 gold. He's in a really good spot. I think at this point, you just need to keep taking really good trades. Those Imperial Knights are still an issue. The army value is actually pretty even now. Valdemar's weathered the storm pretty well. In fact, army value is basically neck and neck. So if anyone could hold through, again, the guild hall could keep Valdemar in this. We see his food has now stabilized. Now it's just the gold. Valdemar just needs to make sure he can continue to get gold, and he'll be fine. Obviously, that's a bit of a problem here with this Red Palace under siege, but Trebuchets getting caught out. Knights surround and get rid of them, and they are done. So that'll save the Red Palace for some time. A good pickup from Valdemar, and this is the benefit of going against English and with your French Knights. Like I said, Scarlet Devil had a really good mass there for a moment, but it's slow. It's a very slow mass, and Valdemar just investing everything into these Knights. Taking down the Berkshire as well. He'll lose a couple while doing that, but that's actually a really good value to get rid of this thing.
Now, with this Berkshire going down, that feels pretty good, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough. The crossbow's absolutely peppering through anything that dares step out here. The Berkshire, though, he's firing pretty heavily, just not heavily enough to stop this, but apparently the spears have something to say about that. And the Knights, they do get a pretty good surround here, and the Berkshire just keeps firing now. Villagers being pulled to try and repair it, but it will pay the price at the same time. Valdemar is the one who's got an army inside his base too, but Scarlet, he's sacrificing quite a lot of these units. Thing is, he gets to replace these.
I feel like we're on the road to a base trade here in a second, almost. Now, military numbers now dwindling though for Valdemar. He did lose a lot of knights. And that's kind of the tricky thing, is these knights are they cost so much that when you have them in mass, they're really good, but now the gold is becoming a consistent issue for Valdemar. He just can't replace them.
Now, the hand cannoneers is going to need to perform miracles here, but he realizes that I need horses to deal with any amount of army. Now Scarlet is the one making, he's going to make cannons, and this is going to be so difficult. Bombards, so difficult to handle, to get anything back up. He's just going to slowly push his way all the way through to the base. And you can see the villager amount has equalized, but Scarlet, that's a decision. Valdemar, that's just him producing at full speed, and he cannot make anything else. You can see every resource per minute is not looking too healthy for him.
Yeah, it really comes down to that gold, I think, right? In fact, that his food's been under duress a little bit. He threw away so many of those knights. For a moment, I thought he was going to bring it back, but he threw them all away under the Berkshire. And I just feel like that he focused, he almost had it torn all the way down, but then focused on the spears. I almost wonder if he should have just torn it all the way down and then focused on the spears after. But again, he lost so many doing that either way. I think he would have lost a lot of knights as long as he focused that and fought under that building. It feels like he maybe threw him a little away for nothing here, because now he's just on the back foot and it just feels over.
So even though that Red Palace still stands, it feels like the Bombard has something to say about the main base instead. And that makes a lot of sense. We have a Bombard, we've got the numbers, let's keep on pushing. So look at that, the Horseman raid as well. Scarlet is the one in charge, and these villagers might make their way back to safety, but a few of them will pay the price. And again, this is just distracting Valdemar from what he needs, resources.
Yeah, at this point, it looks like this game's just over. The bank that Scarlet Devil has built is just incredible. Valdemar just doesn't have the gold, can't maintain production of units, and he's so far behind. And this is just the power of English late game, right? Like, once they get into Imperial Age, once they get those farms cooking, once they get these units popping out, the heavy infantry, it's hard to deal with this mass when it decides to move right into your doorstep.
Now the double bombard is ready to fire away, and you can see that villagers desperately repairing, but this is the stage of the game where your wood becomes an issue as well. And those bombards, they're going to do some quick work here. We see he's just desperately trying to get enough to do this. But with Sacred Site victory approaching, you feel that pressure. I just love the fact that neither of these players have decided to go for that top relic.
I wonder if either of them even noticed it. Sometimes you don't even scout it, or it just hides in the shadows, just in the corner there. Valdemar making Scarlet Devil earn this one all the way. Bombards, though, should make quick work of the remaining 2 landmarks.
Now, they are doing some good damage against these keeps as well. And that's the thing about keeps. You have to repair them with stone, right? This is not something Valdemar has any of. He's barely got anything in the bank, but you can see he's trying to make the army he can afford right now and take that final fight, because this is all he's got. The keep now going to be falling, but the army is ready for a fight. The bombards are just doing all they can. Hand cannoneers need to be microed, but the crossbows are ready and they are destroying everything.
And that'll do it. Game number 3 goes to Scarlet Devil. We've got a really competitive series on our hands here. It's all mixed up right now. Scarlet Devil with game point now. Valdemar needs to win out to continue on here. But we can really see the value. Just look at the way the value kind of slipped back and forth. And look at that 26 to 27 mark. Valdemar really closed that gap back up. It was looking really dire at 23 minutes. He closed it, got it really close. Around 27, it was dead even. And then look how much he lost right after that. And that was the fight taken underneath the Berkshire. And he lost all of those knights doing that. And I wonder if he maybe could have saved the game with those knights. But in the end, the eco was just far superior for English.
And now you're getting into this point where Valdemar is feeling that pressure. This is pretty tough for him, because now this is his moment. He needs to take down Scarlet Devil. He's the favorite here. This is what people have been waiting for. We do see some of these critical plays here. You can see Scarlet Devil, he was ready for this. He knew what he needed to defend, and he did such a good job at that. Look at that first knight just trying to find a bit of damage, but it does not.
Yeah, really good game by both these players. Like I said, I felt like that one was going to go long, and it did. But English late game, it's one of the best. And French late game in most matchups isn't bad, especially when you have the guild hall really helping you pump more stuff out, getting the quick age up. But English, when they get set up and moving, it's hard to deal with. And French, when you lose the knights, it never feels good. But coming up, next game, it's going to be Hill and Dale, and it's going to be a Ubids into Mongols. Again, Macedonians chose again and banned again. Valdemar has picked that one all 4 times in a row. Scarlet Devil has banned it all 4 times in a row. And now Malian's banned for the 2nd time as well. Valdemar doesn't really want to deal with that, especially on Hill and Dale. So we'll have a Ubids versus Mongols. What is your initial take on that matchup, Whammon?
Now, I feel like it can go both ways. Ubids, I feel like they just perform a little bit better in most of this, but this is still Hill and Dale. This is something that Mongols is pretty good at overwhelming their opponents with. This is a map where you can usually be quite greedy because of all the food you have access to. So Scarlet, most likely, he gets to make that decision. Like, hey, am I going to go fast castle? Can I go fast castle? What do I want to do to capitalize on that extra bit of food that I don't need to move out for? And this is the strength of the civilizations on a map like this. With Mongols, you are the one who usually lands and does the damage you need. But this map just doesn't let that happen too easily. Although, the wood lines, this is where Mongols can become a bit of a menace. If you're a civilization that again needs to go for wood, they have a pretty good answer at shutting down anyone who tries to get resources. I don't know, I like Mongols here just because of the civilization itself, but who do I like more on this? Scarlet. I think Scarlet has shown us he's good at sitting back and waiting for that right moment to attack. Every single time. And Hill and Dale gives you that.
No, it's been impressive to see, right? I mean, with that very first game, like you mentioned, he's good at sitting back and waiting for the right moment. He did that on Baldland with Byzantines too, almost perfection, right? He sat back, was a little more, even if anything, a little more passive than I would have liked to have seen, but waited for the right moment, executed it pretty well, and then got the win. I could see it happen again here. Mongols on Hill and Dale, I always have to wonder, it's not really been the meta for some time, and I always wonder on Hill and Dale, like, do you go for some trade on this map? Like, it can be so easy to do. Would you even consider it at this level?
At this level, you see, the thing is, they're going to scout it. This is not something where Scarlet goes in blindly. This man shows us he knows where to scout, he knows when to scout, and he is not going to let you do something for free. It was the same with the Red Palace. We could see that he's everywhere. He knows exactly where that thing is coming up, and he was able to at least get Valdemar to put it in a different spot. I don't expect Valdemar to get away with any sneaky plays here. Scarlet is the one who moves out on the map. Scarlet is the one that takes control of the external resources. He's the one that feels confident in this. I say that, but also Valdemar was the one on the deer. Scarlet just didn't have an answer to it. He did as much as he could with the king, try and raid it, try and shut this down. But Valdemar can't get away with something that sneaky too easily against a man like Scarlet. But wing-wise, that's what I would like to ask Twitch chat as well. We've been seeing AU bits on this map quite a bit. Is this where you go for your dervishes, just negate any damage that might come your way, where Mongols has to invest a lot more to actually get damage done because your dervishes are just like chilling there, healing with the power of the gods, while, you know, you can just go castled in, or you can just sit back and persuade Mongols not to constantly attack you? I think Scarlet has the keys to the car here, and he's going to be driving us in the direction Valdemar. He needs to find an answer to do damage, and this is all or nothing. Pretty big game for him.
That's true. He doesn't really have a lot of wiggle room. You kind of, I set you up and you dunked it perfectly, the alley-oop. I was going to say, like, on the mid-ladder tier, like anywhere from gold to maybe even high diamond, you might see some silver trees sneak in on this map. But yeah, this level of play, like you said it perfectly, they're going to know what to scout for. They're going to know to look out for it. It's going to be, you can't really sneak past him without seeing. Maybe he goes desperate and goes for it. I don't expect it. And I think you're right. It really, the ball is kind of in Scarlet Devil's court to do as he pleases. And as far as what wing he goes for, I mean, might I even say there's not really a lot of bad options as far as what he goes with. He can go for the early dervish, and that would be a good call. He could go for the Desert Raiders, and that would be a good call. He could even take the 3 vills and make it even faster castle. That would be a good call. I think all of them are actually viable. It really depends on his personal playstyle with Ayubids and how he wants the game to go. I think I lean towards either the dervish, or if Valdemar's planning on getting aggressive, maybe going for the Desert Raiders early. I think both are good. I'm really high on the dervishes though, and how much value they provide with that healing. It's so good. Every time I get on this channel and cast, I always just shout out that it is underrated. Even for as much as we rate it as pretty good, it's still underrated in my mind how good the dervish healing is with that wing.
And the numbers speak for themselves. We've seen why pro players go for this constantly. They are just there to perform. And this is also why the Deer Stones is so popular. The Deer Stones just give you so much of an advantage with your villages and everything just moving faster. You can be aggressive, you can pull it back, you can be defensive. So the Silver Tree right now in our meta is just not there to do the work. Your Deer Stones, they give you what you need, and that's mobility. That's the name of the meta right now is mobility. How am I going to raid? How am I going to make sure that I do the right amount of damage to completely oppress my opponent and get the advantage in the win from there? So these boys are going to be battling it out pretty heavily, especially with, we have to ask ourselves about the spawns here. You always get into a spot where with Hill and Dale, if you get a forward gold, things can get a little hairy, especially with the Mongols. They can very, very easily get a little Mangudai or two to handle what you're trying to do. But again, that's where the Dervish comes in. And yeah, I would like to see what that initial response is, and if Valdemar is going to go for some early aggression here. Because we do see that Uwu coming down, but now Scarlet Devil in the purple, snacking on all these sheep around the base, and that's quite a lot of them.
Yeah, we're going into, that's a lot of sheep. I'm always a fan of some extra sheep. Everyone knows that. We are into game number 4 here of this best of 5. Scarlet Devil with the game point. He's got 2 wins. Valdemar has gotten a win himself, hoping to do the reverse sweep throughout the rest of the series now to stay in it, as he is doing some pretty standard stuff so far. We'll see just how do these players want to play this matchup. What wing will Scarlet Devil pick, and how aggressive will Valdemar choose to be?
Now, Valdemar, I would like to take a look at that Uwu so we can see what the man is cooking. So if our observer could just do a quick glance out there onto the Uwu, so we can see what Valdemar is opening up with. And it is a barracks, ladies and gentlemen. Very understandable. No pasture play early game today. But like I said earlier, Scarlet doesn't let anything happen without him knowing about it. So he knows exactly what's cooking. So the thing is, Valdemar is going to need to send that spear all the way out here to try and shut down a gold that's back. That backwards gold is a gift from the gods. Scarlet is going to have access to that for as long as he wants. And a very small wall could just make sure that a spear would have to run miles to get to it. As we can see, that wood line to the right side of the screen, it has a tiny, tiny open space where the spearman could slip through. But for Mr. Valdemar, let's see where he's going to land with that spear.
Yeah, not an ideal spawn if you are playing as Mongols. He's sending the spears out. I think you're right. I don't know that he's going to get a whole lot done. He hasn't even seen what's going on out there yet. This is not going to make Valdemar feel very good. That's for certain. He's going to be seeing this. He's going to see the gold in the back, and he's going to realize, geez, I'm not going to get a lot done here, or at least not enough done early. So already this matchup looking decent for Scarlet right now. You know, when you can have a little time. The scariest thing with Mongols is that they can get you early, and it will be economic wing. So kind of foreshadowing a very quick castle age. And what this also does is it gives a bonus to those berries. So even more food in the back of your base with that plus 50 for each berry bush. I actually like this choice. The dervishes would have been equally as good, but I like the extra food he gets here. I wish if he was going to go for this, though, he would have spread out his villagers and not eat up one of those berry bushes all the way. Normally, when Ayubid's players play this, they spread the villagers out one per bush. So you don't have, you can see that one missing right there. You don't get the bonus 50 for that because it's gone. So, and if he's not careful, he's going to lose out on about 150 food if he doesn't spread those out. So that's a bit of a misplay. And again, at this level, that can matter a little bit. Yeah, that one's about to go too. That's missing out on 100 food, probably 150 food, like I said.
That is a massive loss, but at the same time, you still have access to your deer. And I think this is the name of the game here. He knows that he has access to all this food, something he doesn't now not going to be paying too much attention to. But the key here is getting those 3 extra vills, and we see him deleting that mining camp. And the silver tree is built socketed. What year are we living in?
It's happening.
I saw in chat earlier, someone said that Anatan told people on BC stream that Valdemar is going to surprise us. And ladies and gentlemen, Valdemar has surprised us. A silver tree coming out for the first time in ages in competitive play. And I'm ready for it. I want Valdemar to trade. Let's go see if Scarlet is cursed by the caster and if he is going to not scout. Because that could be the only mistake he makes.
If he doesn't see this, that'd be incredible. You know, I was kind of wondering in the back of my mind, like, will Valdemar go? It's kind of, it objectively might not even be the best play at this level. And it probably, the numbers probably back that up. But sometimes you got to play outside the box and play a little risky. And that's what Valdemar's doing. Perhaps he noticed that it was economic wing coming in for Scarlet Devil and realized that he would have some time, that Scarlet's playing for a fast castle and that maybe he could match that with his own eco. That might have been the thought process here. You do see an archer range coming in, but it's going to be Silver Tree. So Hill and Dale, the meta is, you know, you can go trade on this map. We'll see how well that works for Valdemar, because again, there's a risk. There is inherent risk involved with this, because if it gets scouted, Scarlet can respond. And even if it takes him some time, he can still respond. But if it doesn't, if he doesn't notice, we do see a scout running around the back now. Does he see this? This is huge right here. If he notices it early, this could backfire for Valdemar very quickly and just blow up in his face. If somehow Scarlet misses this.
Scarlet is taking a quick look. He sees the stable. Maybe this is the information he thought he wanted. He doesn't realize he needs more information here. Ooh, and the Gur coming down now on the deer. This scout is like, okay, I know what's happening.
He's gonna have to see it.
Do you see? Is that the landmark moving out?
That's the landmark.
That is the landmark.
That's it. He sees it. And so this is exactly what you were saying too, was that a good player, these top players are gonna look for it. They're gonna look, and he's doing exactly that. He sat there, he looked, he knew that it would have to go to that south corner because the market was on the eastern corner. Sat his scout there, wanted to see what's he producing, and is that landmark gonna come into view? And it does. So now the question is, how does Scarlet Devil respond? And he's got Desert Raiders on the field.
He's got a Desert Raider on the field, and I think this is what he wants. He wants to force Valdemar to make units. He wants Valdemar to stay at this age because we can see he's got nothing else in queue. He's going for his fast castle. He came in here with a plan. He's got the eco lead. He's going to go for a fast castle. He's got the extra berries now. He still has his full set of deer, a ton of sheep under the DC. This man is going to glide into a fast castle. But my big question is, what then? Are we just seeing a bunch of camel lancers trying to shut this down? Because Valdemar behind this is just going for a few spears too. And this is going to deal pretty well with the Castle Age follow-up. But at the same time, Scarlet has a archer. So he's got a plan. Another camel in queue though.
I think the Desert Raiders are actually the way to go here because they can snipe out those spears. They can kite them away. They can also do really good damage and keep up with those traders as well. I think I think mixing in some camel lancers would be nice, but I think the Desert Raiders might be the unsung heroes in this game.
Now, I see that Valdemar is now just investing into more and more archers, getting that to himself. Makes sense. You want to deal with the Desert Raiders. You know that they're a pretty big threat, especially when you are up against the Airbids. But Scarlet Devil is so close to clicking up. Ooh, and we see the Desert Raider coming on in. The Archer, though, he's taking a lot of damage. He gets one of the Keshiks, and that feels good. So the Keshik going down is going to mean that aggressiveness he had is shut down, and Military Wing is the choice of aggression here. That Desert Raider, though.
I would have expected the dervishes, but I kind of like the idea of, like, if Desert Raiders is going to be the right choice here, it's kind of fun to get those for free. That'll help keep up with the trade and hopefully for Scarlet Devil, keep the pressure on it as well.
And we do see that Desert... Yeah, he's got to be careful because the archers that will follow... I say archers, but there's one archer still in production here. I now see there's 5 total. UI a little bit all over the place, but the tower is doing some good work here. One archer needs to be careful, but the Desert Raider extended a little bit too far here. TC Fire is going to need to do the work, and he's not going to have access to the gold for too long if this keeps up. Valdemar still not making a single trader here. He respects the fact that there's a Desert Raider out here and doesn't try to shut it down just yet.
He's going to have to deal with this eventually. Right now, he's just trying to keep the pressure on Scarlet Devil, keep him in his base, let him maybe buy some time to trade. He's just kind of walking in. At this point, you were kind of mentioning those walls, how nice a couple walls would have been, but that would have obviously slowed down Scarlet Devil a bit. He's going to need to answer this somehow, though, because this is starting to turn into kind of a nasty mass in the very back of his base. The good thing is, though, Defender's advantage is very real. Valdemar's going to have a hard time continuing to reinforce this if at any given point Scarlet Devil decides to cut those reinforcements off.
The problem is he's got the gold under control here, so yes, he's going to be able to pick off a unit here and there, but he's not going to be able to get those upgrades. Luckily for him, he's going to get free camels, and I mean, what is better than a bunch of free units? He knows exactly the power thereof, and Valdemar, he knows he needs to find real damage. Right now, he's just got idle time out of the gold, which shuts down any of this aggressiveness that you would expect from Scarlet in terms of getting your upgrades, getting your Desert Raiders upgraded too, which would probably be pretty clutch here. Now the villagers just popping back in, but the Desert Raiders are at the ready, sniping down that one Keshik, and now more units are on the menu. But he just doesn't have the gold for it just yet to get the next upgrade. And a Camel Lance is chosen over the upgrade.
I actually like that choice. You've got enough Desert Raiders. I think the Camel Lancers actually are kind of a good choice. They did something heavy out right now because that comes out upgraded, right? That comes out in Castle Age. There's no weight. You've got a unit to deal with. Most of the spears have been cleaned up by now. So I feel like that's actually an excellent choice. Get this army out of your base.
Now the Camel Lancer numbers, they do take a while to ramp up. And keeping in mind, he doesn't have access to too much gold. So the Desert Raiders, they do their job. And they can push this army back. But he does need to be careful not to lose most of these. First Camel Lancer's out, and it looks like he's got a target in mind. Second one joining now as well. Desert Raiders doing their best, but he does need to be careful here. They get some pretty good shots off, and the next Camel Lancer just becomes a kebab pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was really risky and really close. Those spears, there's just enough right now. Valdemar reinforced the spear numbers in a good amount of time, and now just kind of sitting. He is kind of backtracking a little bit, though. He knows he doesn't want to overcommit and make a misplay here. He's being very methodical about his movements. But Scarlet Devil just needs to get building and make this Castle Age advantage really kick off for him. We see the first Dervish in the queue as well.
Now, with that Dervish, the healing is going to be quite great if you want to out-sustain this, but the archer numbers are pretty scary. Valdemar now getting his building movement speed upgrade too, which I'm pretty surprised about, especially considering that's what you're spending resources on without having any eco upgrades. So, big question mark at the top of my head right now, thinking about what is he planning to do with this? And honestly, does this just mean Castle Kurultai is going to run here at the speed of light? Because that could feel pretty interesting. Now, what I like to see at the same time, Scarlet is getting that +1. He's getting his camel upgrades. He knows he needs to get the mass here to deal with all of this, because this is a lot of units. Now villagers moving out, and Valdemar is nowhere to actually suppress this.
Yeah, and I like that wall up there as well. So if you need to run back in the base, you can. At this point, Scarlet Devil waiting to get those Desert Raiders upgraded. It's about to tick up in just a second. There it goes. And so now he'll probably feel a little more comfortable taking a fight if he needs to. Wolf might get a kill there. Maybe. Maybe. Nope. It gets spotted just in time. Or maybe. Maybe. Okay, no. The wolf being very annoying, though. Very close. Very close. Hope that wolf doesn't have rabies. Wouldn't it be fun if like there was a 0.1% chance that a wolf has rabies and poisons your vill and it just dies? That's the kind of the intricate game mechanics I want in this game sometimes, you know, just for the added silliness.
That's pink sheep right there.
Pink sheep, yes, pink sheep levels of rarity. Valdemar still.
What?
What?
What I'm a little bit concerned about here is the fact that there's not been a single villager kill here for the Mongols. And Mongols, this is usually the name of the game for them. That's where they shine. They shut down someone by just overwhelming around those woodlines especially. And he just hasn't been able to get that off yet. Now the traders have come in, and he does have a handful there already. Thinking about the eco numbers, he probably has about 4 or 5 right now. And this is good. Valdemar is now slowly ramping up. But the thing is, he's still in feudal. Scarlet, though, he's the one now getting raided. And I spoke too soon. Poor man is about to be under siege. And we'll see if he gets a handful of vills, or a single vill at that. He does get one low HP boy. And that wall is not complete, so there could be a second one sneaking in there at some point.
The wolf with the assist on that one, 100%. The wolf doing 90% of the work, and the Keshik just taking his homework and turning it in as if it was himself. That's some really silly shenanigans right there. Valdemar still kind of just back and forth in the same spot. He's got a pretty nasty looking mass, 56 units. This is looking scary. Scarlet Devil, of course, is in Castle Age and upgraded, but those spears just kind of loom large here in this fight as Camel Lancer is trying to get some damage in, but getting poked and prodded, turning into kebabs, as you like to say, dropping one by one. This is a tough engagement here for Scarlet Devil.
Yeah, Scarlet taking this fight a little bit aggressively here. As we can see, his villagers are just very happily getting all the berries, but they might actually be the ones dying now. Oh, he's trying to focus these down, but Valdemar's mass is just too much here. And apparently Valdemar just investing in more and more units actually paid off here. The archer numbers were enough to pick off a lot of these desert raiders, and apparently Scarlet is the one in danger.
Yeah, I want to point out that Valdemar took some time building some traders. He did not start pumping them out immediately. That allowed him to build a military presence, which forced Scarlet Devil to respond with a more defensive posture. And now that we can see the line of traders happening, Valdemar is online, and in Feudal Age, he's fully committed, and the military mass is there, 39-6. Yeah, he waited on these traders just a little bit, let the military kind of stand on its own first, so that way he knew he wouldn't lose any of his traders. Actually, a smart game plan. If you're going to do it, it was delayed, and there is a risk of doing that, but in doing so, he has enabled this play to work.
I'm absolutely amazed here by Valdemar's decision-making, because for me, this felt like Valdemar, he was unsure of how to handle this, but all of a sudden, he's put himself into gear and he's ready to take Scarlet down. Absolutely love to seeing this type of aggression from him. Valdemar, though, there were some instances in the past where he would overcommit a bit and lose quite a lot, but you have to look at the food per minute. It's telling you the story of a very hungry Aeobid player. Those villagers idle for quite a while here, and he's just not able to make any units. Now, the Desert Raiders, they do kill the Khan, but you have to ask yourself, is this going to be helpful at all?
Yeah, this is looking pretty dire for Scarlet Devil, and you know, it's tough when you're going against someone like Valdemar who's getting aggressive, who's just standing on your doorstep. He basically just stood on top of the food. And now that that's a problem, the wheels are falling off here for Scarlet Devil. Felt like he never could quite get humming and going. And that is the danger of going Castle Age when your opponent stays in Age 2 and just masses units. Is that, yeah, you've teched up, but if you don't have an answer to all those spears, you can have all the cavalry in the world, but if your opponent has 3 times the number of spears with some supporting units, you just can't do anything. We see, you could insert the Benny Hill theme right here. Those villagers are just running around in circles now. There's just no recourse, no way to get back in this. Valdemar has secured this game with Silver Wing, of all things. I mean, just incredible. Or the Silver Tree. I say Silver Wing, Silver Tree.
Oh, in this case, it feels like Valdemar just is playing with his food. Scarlet not ready to accept his fate here. I remember what I said about Scarlet being the guy who knows when to attack. He just, he never had that option. Valdemar put him in his base and kept him under control the whole time.
Yeah, it felt like he kind of just had those units, those Desert Raiders, and they were just kind of on the complete and utter defense the entire time. I almost would have liked to see maybe sneaking a couple out and trying to disrupt that trade. You knew it was there, and that was his plan. I think he just had to really heavily commit to that defense. Maybe if you could, it's hard to do, but maybe if you could spare a Desert Raider or two, force the units of Valdemar out of your base and to go defend that instead, maybe there was a world you can get into this. As it was, Valdemar just sneaking around that little wood line. Man, how good would a wall right there have been from the get-go? We talked about little short walls. He's just kind of looped in the side door this entire time. Sometimes walling off on Hillendale can really, really give you the time you need. Because as it was, Scarlet Devil just didn't have quite enough time.
Now we do see the camels being on the other side of the map, trying to make miracles happen. And the problem is just the miracles, they are a little bit late. And we can just see Scarlet Devil losing units left and right now. 23 villagers being dead. That is more a Mongol number. And Valdemar showed us he's still playing the Mongols. He's going to shut this down. And this is the beauty of the civilization. It is something that can adjust to most. You have an answer to a few of those Castle Age units with your Keshiks already. But he made spears because he knew he needed to handle those camel lances. So with the food running out, it was more than enough. And the crazy thing is the deer are still there. He just wasn't able to capitalize on all of that because of this insane presence by Valdemar. So small things that Valdemar did was just enough to keep everything under control. And now the pasture transition coming out. Valdemar, he's feeling confident about this castle. This is going to be a very tough one for Scarlet to perform miracles on.
I mean, I don't like to call a game before it's actually done, but this game feels effectively over. And I look back now at Scarlet Devil's choice to go with the economy wing. Maybe going for the dervishes would have been the better call, and expecting to have to play a little more militarily. Having the dervishes with the healing aura might have been a really good boon in those early fights, especially. I think that one archer that survived a very long time, he would have been back to full health had he gotten healed all the way. He could have done a lot more. So it just feels like this game is just kind of done now. Scarlet Devil's playing it out, though. He's going to try and find some way. At this point, he's looking for kind of a miracle. I mean, down, double the economy, double the military. It's tough.
Now, with this army, Valdemar is circling around his food. He's got his Kurultai as well. And that is a lovely time for the Mongols with his buildings who will be able to run extra fast. This is going to be a pretty heavy push for him to handle. And Scarlet, he's just making more archers, waiting for the miracle to come. But those two dervishes, ooh, look at that, what the camels is doing. He needs, but he doesn't just need a handful. He needs a lot more.
Yeah, he need to be doing that like 5 minutes ago. But, I mean, if he wants to find a way back in the game, he has to be doing stuff like that. As it is, Valdemar feels like he could just walk into the base if he really wanted to, and there it is. Yeah, he just kind of knows, like, okay, when push comes to shove, the advantage there was for Valdemar. And now we have a 2-2 series that is going to go the distance. Both players at match point now. Valdemar was looking pretty, it's pretty scary when you're down 2-1, but now back to 2-2 we go. And with a chance to win for either player in the next game.
Now, that is a pretty tough graph to look at. As we can see, those attacks landing at just the right time. Valdemar read it perfectly, and he knew when to age up. And this is something Valdemar has struggled with in the past. So, seeing this type of play from him, reading that game perfectly, this is what we needed. This is what Valdemar needed. And, I mean, this could be his first round of 16 win in this event. And that's a massive feat to have. Now, Scarlet, though, let's go see what the decision is on those civilizations for the next round. But we do see the picks are up. Malians vetoed yet again, and I'm quite surprised here to see Order of the Dragon being used on King of the Hill, especially considering Valdemar's got that Rus, but Macedonians, yet again, not being allowed in this game.
It almost reaches the point with drafting like this, where if you know there's a civ that you have in your back pocket your opponent just doesn't want to see at all, like Macedonians, it's been banned every single time. What that effectively does is, outside of getting to use Macedonians, you get to have your pick of what your other civ is. So it almost feels like Valdemar's been like, yeah, I'll throw Macedonians every time out. He's going to deny it every single time, but now whatever else I pick has to slip through. And that's effectively what's happened here. Yeah, and Order of the Dragon, interesting choice for King of the Hill. I'll be honest, I don't really know what my opinion is on that. I feel like Rus is pretty good on this map, though, with all the wood there and all in that one sticker set up top. I feel like with the early knights, this should be an interesting matchup. And King of the Hill is always interesting in my mind because it sometimes it almost feels a little gimmicky to me, but that's also kind of its charm and why I like it.
Now you can see a confident man diving under that TC like it cannot do any harm. And that's where Valdemar was. With all of that income, he was a pretty happy camper. But King of the Hill is a different type of map. This is a map where Rus, historically and currently, does pretty well. Now, we saw a Marine Lord last week do some pretty crazy stuff with, I think it was 4 hunting cabins on King of the Hill. It was absolutely disgusting. That is the right type of pressure and the right type of playstyle we want to see out of King of the Hill. A man who doesn't even need to touch gold for the whole game to be able to take them down. But Valdemar, there's a lot of expectation here from him because Anatand hyped him up. So him being the one on King of the Hill, I'm excited to see what he's going to pull out here. And guys, we are ready, almost ready to roll in. That's going to be a disgusting matchup. And I feel like Valdemar is the right guy to execute it.
Yeah, he who is king of this hill will be king of this series. Match point going the distance for the first series of the day, too, for us to cast. Lots of fun so far today. Scarlet Devil, being the alternate here for Demu, has put up a really good fight. And this has been a competitive, fun series. And again, he who wins the hill will be crowned king of this series and get to move on to the next round. So the timer says 0-0. I'm waiting any second, just like you guys. Up there it is. We dive into our final match of this series. Scarlet Devil in the orange, Valdemar in the yellow. I hope nobody at home is colorblind. As we dive in on the north side, Scarlet Devil as the Order of the Dragon. An interesting choice, as we've said. We'll see what he wants to do with that. And in the south, in the yellow, Valdemar playing as the dreaded Rus, who, as you mentioned, historically and currently, very good on this map. And with plenty of wood to go. Oh, that hunting cabin's got to get so much gold. I have got to see how much this gets. With the little patch right behind it as well, get out of town. That's going to be so good. What do we expect? What do we expect? Definitely above 20, right? Definitely above 25? Are we thinking 30? Do I hear 30? Is that even possible? What do these things cap out at anyways?
Oh, we'll see what Twitch chat decides, because as someone who suffered under the Rus nerfs, it would be a pretty hard guess here. These guys don't produce like they used to. But him moving out here with the sheep, this is something we saw a little bit differently from Marine Lord. Marine Lord was not the one who sent out the sheep to these hunting cabins. He actually just let the villagers run back. But now Valdemar says, I will be optimizing this and ensuring every bit of food that my villager collects will be as close to that as possible. The third hunting cabin going down in the south as well, and pulled off of wood from here on out. So this means we're going to be seeing Valdemar now being ready to slowly make his way up to feudal. Now, Order of the Dragon is a civ that also, can do a nice little fast castle, just like the Rus, but they do a pretty solid feudal game as well. And this is now where my big question mark lies. Is Scarlet the kind of guy who will give us a taste of that fast castle and serve us a delicious burger on top of that? Or are we just going to see a standard feudal play that overwhelms an opponent and very easily dives under their TC?
Yeah, to be seen. We get a look at that hunting cabin down in the south. If our observer can take a look, I want to see how much gold that's getting. Can we click on that one right there? Let's see. Well, only 22. Okay, it looked like there would be a lot more wood there than there was. But hey, plus 20 is always good. I was hoping to be a little more. Like you mentioned, it's been nerfed over time. It will be the Aachen Chapel to start. No mine work.
Ooh, and I'm really excited to see a little bit of Archon here. Because the Archon, of course, it's great. You get a bonus, you get a gathering. Oh, it's wonderful. It is wonderful for any economy. But at the same time, it doesn't spell for any crazy shenanigans for us just yet. Now, with the food, we have to ask ourselves, is Scarlet going to get enough food to put under this Archon too? Especially considering that this thing is just going to be inspiring wood for the most of it. But getting inspired wood is better than not getting anything inspired, right? So this is going to be pretty great, but 4 sheep, that is not going to be the loot you want if you want to just capitalize and go for a little bit more of an aggressive play. The eco difference will be enough though, because with the units that you can pump out of the Order of the Dragon, they punish people who try to go for Fast Castle. And that's exactly what Roos does here. With those chunky men-at-arms, you can deal with TC fire for such a long time. Now, Scarlet is not on gold anymore, so this also begs the question, are we just going to get horses/spears to shut down pro scouts for in the meantime?
That to be seen. It's hard to tell right now. We do see some stone, though, coming in from Scarlet Devil.
And that is a nice little 2TC build that we've seen out of Order of the Dragon so many times.
Yes, indeed. But how it'll fare against Roos on King of the Hill, we'll find out. But that is definitely what that's telegraphing to me.
And that was the big question mark I had on my forehead here. That's like a TC though. Is this something we use to secure the gold? Is this something you want to put in a safer spot to just get your arcane involved? But just like the previous game, we see Valdemar doing exactly what Scarlet Devil does, scouting. Both of these players using their big brains and knowing exactly what is coming. Now, Valdemar and Scarlet both hitting feudal now. This just means that next level of play is going to come on out. Let's take a quick look at the Roos base to see what he's cooking. Oh, a stable opening. We are not getting a standard old Roos greedy boy play. We are getting a little bit more of horsepower on this map.
This is turning into an interesting matchup. And there's that second TC right next to the Aachen Chapel, right next to the wood, just nicely slotted right in between the two. So some eco coming in the way for Scarlet Devil. Will it be enough? I mean, I feel like 2TC used to be kind of like the old build for Order of the Dragon way back when it first kind of emerged. That was kind of a very common choice. We see a lot more like Dark Age shenanigans now, a little more aggressiveness here and there. But on this map, I'm curious how this will play out, especially with the Aachen Chapel sitting right in between those two. Meanwhile, the first early knight coming out for Roos. So it will indeed be some aggressive cavalry coming out. I haven't seen pro scouts or anything like that pop through. He's headed straight across the base.
You have to keep in mind, Valdemar also only has 1 scout, which is kind of unheard of when you think of the Roos.
That's
so
weird,
not
yeah.
going to be nobody going for pro scouts apparently. But this is just going to mean Valdemar is going to struggle with the food after a while if Scarlet Devil doesn't shut down him just moving around and getting what he needs. I like the second TC, not from a design perspective, because of course this thing is absolutely disgusting, guys. I'm so sorry you had to see this with that second TC being right there, taking the space of future beautiful farms. But you have to keep in mind, this is actually pretty decent for you if you are trying to keep your villagers safe, especially against a civ that is going for knights and going to be raiding you the whole time. The walls coming up, just ensuring that those raids aren't going to land that well. But Valdemar now, he's got quite a bit of resources there in the bank. He walks into the wall, realizes, hey, this might be a little bit harder, and goes for the wood line. But because of that second TC, we've got a pretty safe wood line waiting there at the back.
You know, in actual sports, sometimes coaches will talk about how they'll game plan for games, and then when they get into the game has to kind of present itself. And I think at this point, we've seen the game present itself for this match. It's Valdemar on the aggressive side, moving out on the map, and Scarlet Devil doing something we've seen him do throughout this series. Think back to game number 1 as Byzantines. He played very defensively on the get-go, and then was able to actually boom enough to make it work. On this one, I'm curious how well it's going to work for Scarlet Devil, because I feel like on this map, turtling in is a little more difficult than it would be on, say, Badlands or maybe some other maps. Like this one, you're just kind of, it's easy to get boxed in and all the resources in the middle of that map. They call it King of the Hill for a reason. If you're not on the hill gathering all that gold, sometimes it can feel kind of bad. We'll see if Scarlet Devil can make something happen. He's on the 2 TCs. He's walling in that north corner, but this tower shows me kind of what Valdemar wants to do and what he's thinking. He wants to box us in and deny the gold, and with that gold taken away from Scarlet Devil, I'm worried a little bit about what his recourse will be.
Oh, this is a great move here by Valdemar. Again, he's just showing us exactly what we saw in King of the Hill, or King of the Hill, Hill and Dale. Hill and Dale showed us that Valdemar can oppress you in feudal, and there's nothing you can say about that. That one spear is already going to be handled by all the millions of archers that Valdemar has made. And Scarlet, he's just making more spears. He knows about the archers, though. That's the interesting part here. He knows about the archers, and he's like, doesn't matter. More spears, more spears, more spears. But at the same time, Scarlet gets himself a stable. So this means that he is going to make a quick transition into horses as well. Especially with that farming eco already being set up. Oh, the food per minute from Scarlet is absolutely disgusting. We can see the villagers there thinking about going for that other gold, but no one is allowed. The scout, though, Valdemar's scout, he will most likely make it. No, never mind. Let's see him queue up another one.
Grab those sheep, grab the sheep. Get some extra food. He might need it. What he really needs, though, is going to be gold. I mean, he's got 3 gold, 3 coins, and a little purse, and they're just jangling, and that's it. He's got nothing else. No access to gold either. And this is, it almost feels like an ultimate win. Like, it's just, there's the kill switch. You don't have gold, you lose. Like, unless you can produce enough feudal military to make a difference here. I am very concerned for Scarlet Devil. I think he might have misread the situation a little bit going for that second town center. You mentioned on the outset of this game, maybe you put that next to the gold to try to secure the gold. Even if he had done that, I think this aggressive play from Valdemar would have maybe overwhelmed it.
Now, that army moving out to the other side is giving Scarlet a little bit of an opening to shut down that second tower, which is why the army is now on its way back. But Scarlet, the sneaky boy, is out here on the map getting a little bit of gold. And honestly, this could be the saving grace. Scarlet now, he's got a few horses as well. And this just means that he's going to try to raid and punish a little bit. But you have to ask yourself, how prepared for this is Valdemar? And he says very. Making sure that he walls off every corner of the map where his villagers are getting food from. But Valdemar at 140 food per minute, he's not ready to keep this push going too heavily just yet.
Yeah, he's investing a lot of resources into those walls, into those towers. And again, you don't want to throw away your mass when you can't replace it. Those horsemen out there. Now for Scarlet Devil, he's just kind of biding time, hoping he can maybe break through. That's essentially the game plan. You're banking on the fact that your spears and your gilded horsemen will be enough to deal with these early knights and archers. And maybe they will be, but it's going to be tenuous. I'm not scared for Scarlet Devil here. It feels bad when you're getting boxed in. It's going to be a real come from behind win if he can make this happen. But, you know, we've seen some crazy shenanigans happen before. We can see it again. Scarlet Devil just needs to be very careful at this point.
Well,
he's got a gold. He's got a villager on gold. He snuck out.
Yeah.
He has snuck out onto the map with 1 villager. How did he sneak that one through?
As the villager was trying to build that tower, he just snuck it out through the wood line. Disgusting, though. But with that 1 villager, that's not the only source of gold that he's getting, of course. We have to keep in mind that he's got a market here. He's got a lot of wood income. And now he's getting archers. And Order of the Dragon archers, they do quite well against anything coming their way. With 11 spears, though, those Knights of Valdemar are going to struggle. He's going to need to make sure that he targets fire every single thing. But Scarlet also going for a little bit of a safer play here. The tower is already having its emplacement there too. This man is okay hunkering down and just letting the eco do the talking. That wood, we just see it disappearing as quickly as it's coming in. Now, if this is just a sell, we'll have to see. But the archers' numbers are going to slowly start increasing. The food eco looking great. And with that villager difference, he is definitely in a good spot. I know it sounds like he's not, but at the same time, that 1 villager getting gold is great, but the market is still there to do the work. He's got that little bit of an eco boost. You know, 52 vils for Order of the Dragon, this is massive.
Yeah, the market is definitely like a little ticket, a little window to get back into it. A lot of farms too, so food really is just, like you said, not going to be an issue at all. Scarlet Devil's got enough. He's made a lot of investments into that. Valdemar needs to ramp up the pressure. That army's been just kind of standing there, not doing much. And an idle army is essentially just idle resources, really. I mean, it's posturing and it's keeping Scarlet Devil in his base. that's not really gaining you a whole lot outside of that right now. He needs to make something happen. He's just been kind of building those walls, building some infrastructure. I'm worried he's going to get just a little passive here. And that's a pretty good sized mass now from Scarlet Devil. He's got more units. And again, when Order the Dragon has more population than you should be afraid. Be very afraid. I think at this point he could take a pretty, I don't know if he would win the fight per se, but an even fight.
This is the crazy part though, because Valdemar looked like he completely boxed him in. That one Vil, sure, he's getting a bit of gold, but the market is still doing the work that he needs. But he was just not able to do any real damage. With all those horses, he hasn't found a way into the base. He hasn't found a way to get onto the wood line, try to shut this down. And that is the whole point of having this map control. Rus, though, they have a pretty solid economy with all those hunting cabins, with the food he's got, but it's still just not enough. The farms are doing the work. And you can see Valdemar is just trying to build up this mass to try and do a solid push. But Scarlet says, I know what I need to do. Just keep making units. He's getting more horses, getting more archers, because I'm sure everyone in here has fought against Order of the Dragon archers. They are disgusting. But 18 spears, you need a lot of archers to target fire those down. And 22 might actually just not be enough.
And now we see that Valdemar kind of realizing, okay, I've been passive for long enough. I've got a big mass. The problem is he kind of sat on his hands for a little bit, and now Scarlet Devil has been given time. Again, when you go 2TC, when you go for an economic play, what you're looking for is I need time. Time needs to be on my side so I can get things going and really ramp up my economy. Because once it's established, once you've gotten the payback and the dividends keep coming in, then you're ahead. It's that window when you're behind as you've invested it and you're waiting for it to pay off is the danger. We see two wolves here doing some damage. The board did some damage too. We'll see if Valdemar catches that. High trade house though coming in for Valdemar. He's waiting to go Castle Age. That could help him out quite a bit here. I'm just worried that Scarlet Devil might catch him on the back foot. Because right after he castles up, there'll be a window where Valdemar is a little vulnerable. At least that army will be, because it won't be aged up yet.
Now that is again it's always a beautiful trade house on this map though, so he is going to have a lovely time. But that one villager will eventually fall as it's been spotted. Scarlet now going for wheelbarrow. He's like, hey, I don't have much gold, but a wheelbarrow is the name of the game here. And with all of his units, he's gotten himself to a point where he could potentially just move out the moment that the castle age hits and shut down this tower. And that's exactly what's happening here. The horsemen, though, they are not focusing on the archers. And all of a sudden, that tower is still standing, but he's taking the fight. And the spearmen are in position. The archers are target firing them. But the horses, they are the scary ones that are right on top of everything. The age up is coming in, but at what cost? Valdemar just sacrificed so much. He's putting the horses back, and just like this, losing all of that infantry mass. Now, Scarlet is the one in the driver's seat, and he's very quickly going to reclaim that gold with a lot of economy to back it.
This is really an echo of game one. Same deal. It just didn't look great at first for Scarlet. He was being really hurdly, kind of backing up, booming economically. This is like reminiscent of a very old playstyle from years ago of just economic boom and then just move out. And Valdemar has fallen into the trap again of going into Castle Age at the worst moment and losing the army. It's 80 population to 22. The army value is 7,000 to 3,600. I mean, goodness. Scarlet Devil now can just flood the earth with his units. He is now able to take direct control of that gold. Watch him springboard into a very scary mass. Valdemar is going to be Castle Age, which is good, but against 2TC Order of the Dragon, which could probably match that timing pretty quickly, I just worry that Valdemar took a little too long building all these walls, getting nice and secure, and letting Scarlet Devil have some time in that little corner. And it looks, we've got a game on our hands, and I think Scarlet Devil's got the edge.
Now, Scarlet Devil being happily in feudal age for so long, he's like, hey, I might need to go castle at some point. I'm just going to keep making archers though, because as you guys can see, handling everything pretty well. Towers do pay the price now, and that big mass is nearing 200 supply, double of what Valdemar has, right? More than double. Oh my goodness. This man is in a lot of danger, and the horses though, they act just like Castle Age ones. They break anything in front of them. Valdemar doesn't have the spear numbers to handle this at all. He's got 2. And 2... They are just not going to cut it. Luckily, the villagers have depleted what they needed to on that side of the map. He just needs to find another answer. Burgrave is the name of the game, and this is going to mean...
Great choice. The burger, what an excellent choice. Just to flood the earth with men-at-arms. I love it. This game, what a play. Scarlet Devil with this like economic boom. It's just so reminiscent of days gone by. In such a heavy, aggressive meta, to see a player at this level of play sit back, do a little eco thing for a minute, and then come out swinging Castle Age is just, it's kind of refreshing almost, isn't it? It's just so different. We don't see this played that well or that often.
A lot of people not really knowing when to sacrifice some units, when to pull back. And this is the perfect map for that, because this map allows you to just sit back and get the value from your eco as needed. Valdemar was now the passive one, and this may have just cost him the game. The fact that he waited not until the right moment to attack. Now, Scarlet is the one moving out on the deer very happily, just getting everything he can. Valdemar has been in castle for so long, and he doesn't have a single relic in his base. So for someone who's had this much map control, it just doesn't feel that good to see. Valdemar may have been a little bit out of his element here. The men-at-arms getting picked off by a handful of horses. You might have men-at-arms, but he's got everything else. And we see upgrades coming in for Scarlet. They're eco upgrades. He doesn't need anything else. He's ready to roll. These units are looking for blood.
This is just, I'm just kind of in awe. I mean, the Scarlet Devil now, in 2 separate games, we've seen him play like this. And we've seen just the timing attack. I mean, both times he's decided to turtle and then move out. I mean, the timing on this game was just almost immaculate, right? He heads out pretty much the moment, and there's no way he could have known because it's behind a bunch of walls and he isn't able to scout it. He just kind of has a feel for it, right? He had a feel for that Valdemar was just kind of sitting on his hands, going up the castle, not doing much, being passive, and moved out at the right time as we see him just moving in now, the front line, able to tank everything. The archers behind it doing so much damage, and into the base he goes. These knights don't want any piece of these gilded spears. The crossbows and archers don't have anything they can do. The spears are just flak at this point for Valdemar. And into the base, Scarlet Devil just walking in and says, hey, all your base are belong to us. I'm winning this game. I'm winning this series. Who cares about the hill? I don't need to be king of the hill. I just need to be king of my corner, and now I'm going to be king of your corner. What a play by Scarlet Devil.
And this is an interesting way the game map has been played out, because we've been seeing everyone just focusing on that middle sacred side for so long and getting the win condition off of that. But Scarlet just shows you just need the right amount of economy, and then things will go very swimmingly from there. 2,000 food per minute now.
Insane.
At this point of the game, feels sublime. He's ready to go Imperial, and if he goes Imperial, he can put it right there in the middle. Valdemar now not really having anything left in the base. Villages have gone down, hopes have gone down, dreams have gone down, and Valdemar's hope of securing this first round taken down by Scarlet Devil, a replacement for today. Amazing showing by him.
I mean, yeah, he came in, it was supposed to be demo. It was supposed to be demo, and in comes Scarlet Devil. He takes an early win. It's back and forth, and now he wins a series in really impressive fashion. I mean, what an interesting play. Look at that. Look at the minutes from 6 to 13 minutes on the graph right there. Dead even, essentially. Just a little bit of advantage for Valdemar. Felt like he could have pushed that advantage, but didn't really. He just kind of kept making walls, kind of kept doing this and that. The whole while, Scarlet Devil was making some units, trying to keep pace with the army value, not letting that lead diminish. And then the swing, right, from 14 minutes to 16 minutes, right when that Castle Age is clicking up for Valdemar. And that's all she wrote. I mean, look at the graph from there. It was all Scarlet Devil. He let the economy just boom. You can see from the economy count that he waited until he had a sizable lead to move out and make that happen, and just played it perfection. A play style we just don't see very often anymore in this aggressive knight meta, and in my opinion, kind of refreshing to see.
Now, we will be taking a quick look at the bracket after we take a short look at our clips here. That villager putting up that second tower, absolutely wonderful play here by Valdemar to try and secure that, just not finding the right amount of damage to keep or punish Scarlet Devil for not having any gold. Now, we do see those archers trying to target fire absolutely everything, but it just wasn't enough here. And he realizes that just a little bit too late with that tower firing at archers. But remember, these things are made of rocks. They are definitely not going to go down to a few hits from a tower.
Man, what a game. I'm kind of just in awe. You know, it's just, again, it's just such a different play style. And Scarlet Devil has executed it on multiple games and done really, really well. And again, this series went the distance. So shout out to Valdemar for playing at this level as well. I mean, he got a couple games from Scarlet Devil, really competitive both ways. This one felt like it could have been a coin flip in the end as to who took the series. There's no doubt that Scarlet Devil did a good job on this series and we'll be moving on. And we can see the brackets now updated here. The quarterfinals, Scarlet Devil now has punched his ticket to go play Puppy Paw, so he's got his work cut out for him there. Puppy Paw clearly going to be the favorite, but Scarlet Devil's been surprising. We'll see if he can take a game or so later in the day as well. We got Anatan and Lucifron are be in the quarterfinals, and then Vortex waiting to see the outcome between Wham and Scatterbrained. I think the expectation would be to see Wham going up against him. We'll see if Scatterbrained can pull off the upset. Then down the bracket as well, BC's facing off against Scully Deckle, and Baltoon will be facing off against Numadon.